Welcome to When Artists Speak by Let's Talk Art Jalandhar. This is a podcast where we explore the creative spirit, celebrate artistic journeys, and dive deep into the inner landscapes of those who dare to express. I'm Reha, your host, and today we have with us a voice that has resonated through radio waves, touched hearts through pages, and uplifted lives with the quiet power of purpose and presence. Mr. Inderjit Paintal is not just a successful businessman and author, he's a storyteller, a healer with words, a leadership coach, and the co founder of The Space in Jalandhar, a sanctuary where creativity breathes and transformation begins. From scripting documentaries to helping others script their lives, he has made it his mission to unlock human potential. Today, we are honored to have him here to talk about writing, healing, the soul's journey, and the art of listening to that still, small voice within all of us. So tune in as we speak of art, pain, joy, and the silent revolutions that begin with a single word on paper. So, Mr. Indrajit, your journey is across through so many realms. It is like spread through so many realms, be it business, be it art, be it voicing over, be it writing for documentaries.
Right.
Can you please, describe that one thread that is running through all these fields and connecting it all?
Well, I think off late I've been fortunate to have discovered that thread because sometimes we live our entire lives looking for that thread which sort of puts the whole jigsaw puzzle of our lives together. And what I've really found that thread to be is one word which is pretty universal, which activates everyone, initializes, actualizes, excites every human being, and that one word is love.
Love.
When we bring unconditional love to any activity,
Right.
whether it's conducting business, whether it's making a relationship,
Right.
or it's doing a voiceover, writing for a documentary, suddenly you will feel that flutter in your heart. And when you start acting from that space and you bring love to every activity,
Right.
it becomes like a prayer and it becomes a passion.
Nothing beyond love.
Nothing beyond love. So it's good to keep trying different things because sometimes you have to go through the journey and then you will figure out, okay, here's where my heart beats the strongest.
Yes.
And then you settle down with that activity. Till then, like you said,
Yes.
guilty as charged, we try different things,
Yes.
we go through different steps, and then we figure out this really is home for me.
And does it come off with age, with experience? I mean, if a tip for the youngsters out there who are actually these days, having so many avenues open to them
Right.
anyways, with the internet, with the AI now, we do feel as youngsters that we can do this as well, and then being the jack of all trades and master of none,
Yeah.
which personally I feel there is no harm in that. You can try everything,
Yes.
and then again, as you said, you develop that love ultimately. Is there a variation in the degree of love, like for one thing and then for other, or does it comes out organically for everything?
I think it comes together
All right.
once you're at peace inside.
All right.
Till there is a restlessness, your eyes are constantly searching. Either you're searching on keyboards,
Yes.
or you're searching at parties, or you're searching, meeting new people, exploring, traveling. That restlessness will keep you on the move and you'll keep trying different things.
Yes.
And like you just said, be it AI, be it the influx of information, today a young person could be dabbling with 10 different things.
It is. Yes.
And as it's being predicted that in the newer society, the present generation is going to run through 10 to 12 careers in their lifetime.
They will.
So it's a time of experimentation. It's an exciting time where you don't just sign up for a bank job or an army job and you just stay with it all your life. A lot of people are going to drift through this journey,
Right.
and there's nothing wrong in it,
Yes.
as long as, again, I come back to the same thing. If you're happy at the end of the day about the work you put in, about the love you gave that activity, and you're sleeping soundly,
Yes.
you'd suddenly feel relaxed, balanced, and ready for the next day. So I think it's the excitement for life
Yes.
that keeps guiding you.
And there is no particular age, I personally
There's no
believe,
age.
for being
And
excited about
yeah.
anything.
So some people discover it at 15, God bless them.
Yes.
They know that I'm made to play music,
Yes.
or I'm made to do ballet dance, or I'm made to paint or sculpt. And then those people immerse themselves in that activity. Whereas others, mere mortals like us, keep drifting, keep trying. And I still feel, even at my age, I would still like to try more things,
Yes.
experiment with more things.
So that curiosity is very much
Yeah,
there.
so
That
I feel
inquisitive.
that's a healthy restlessness
Of
to
course.
have, as long as it doesn't discourage you from focusing on one thing.
Of course.
So if you're doing something, your entire heart and soul is into it.
Right.
When that activity is done, you can shift. So, like if you're doing business, or you're selling a product, or you're doing something creative like a dance class, or you're gymming, or you're running,
Right.
as long as in that moment you're into it, great. Because
And-
then you're not distracted, or your effort is not 50% because your heart is somewhere else, but your hands are doing something else.
Right.
So it's good to try, but make sure whatever you do, just do it with love.
And then what I feel is, like, once, like, if I say it's business and it's writing, it's meditation for you as well, sir. And all these things then organically become a part of your routine. Like,
Yes.
it's on a daily basis, isn't it? It does. Like, you
It
start
does.
your day with one thing, you then go for your business, I guess, and then whenever you have free time, or you, I don't know, when you find time for your writing and then reading. So how does it go? About your routine, something about your routine.
So something about my routine, I'm an early riser. I've always been a morning person. I
Alright.
could never sit up late at night or burn the midnight oil and study for my exams. So I think everybody has a different circadian rhythm and a
Yes.
clock inside. Some people are happy keeping awake till 2 a.m. So for me, it's like a very early start. I enjoy a bit of meditation in the morning. Then I enjoy walking the dog.
All right.
Then I enjoy listening to something. There's always an audiobook on while I'm doing yoga or doing weights in the morning. So first 3 hours for me are very precious, very personal.
Right.
And I think every human being should give themselves time to nourish their soul,
Yes.
their body, and their mind.
That is your investment towards your body and
Yes.
soul. It is.
And I think if we have to go out in the world and remain sane in a very high voltage, rapid paced society, it's so important that you ground and center yourself in the morning so that the tone of the entire day is set. Then I would go in for business. There would be very, very routine challenges because by qualification I'm an engineer. So when I'm into my business routine, it's usually technical issues that I'm handling. It's on the factory floor. It's doing very concrete things,
I do understand. Yes.
right? And so once that day is over at 5 p.m.,
Yes.
I would reward myself with a cup of coffee,
Wow.
headphones on, reading or writing, because I feel I've done the due diligence of putting food on the table.
Right.
And then it's time to feed my soul.
True. True.
So
True.
that balance, I think, comes with time. So if someone's excited about going fishing or yachting or uh, going for a run
Whatever
in the can,
is their calling. Yes.
it's their call.
Yes.
For me, this is what calls me. So probably my restlessness channelizes into using the pen, and that's how my day goes. And yes, there's time to interact, meet friends, time to connect with the other people, learn from so many people. So
yes.
all through the day, I think one key thing that must go on with us is stay curious.
Yes. And by this, I can always figure out that authors need not restrict themselves in a closed room behind the walls. And then, I mean, that's not necessarily needed.
No.
It depends on the genre that they're writing
Yeah,
upon.
I personally feel that when you're writing,
Yes.
there are two things. We all write from observation, and that observation is of the world around us.
Great.
So when you're observing people's behaviors, their voices, their physical features, their idiosyncrasies, you will capture elements
Yes.
and build them in your characters. So beware, an artist is always like a CCTV camera who's watching, who's making observations. He is stealing parts of your personality to turn them into a character. And
Alright.
then the quiet time comes when he'll shut the door, sit on a typewriter or with a pen and paper, and then mold those characters,
Yes.
give them life, and tell them to go out in the world and develop a plot. That's how I feel. So a writer who's completely isolated, who's not immersing in the world,
Yes.
how can they write about experiences and feelings, hurts and loves and deceits and conflicts
Of course.
of real life?
These
They
are
have
like,
to be
yes,
in it
yes.
to write about it.
These are like some of the movies that we have seen where they portray a writer like that, you know, a
Yeah,
haunted house that they live in and
yeah.
all these things, and they've,
Isolated,
yes,
it's very
distance
difficult.
themselves from everywhere, from everybody. And then, you know, people get really scared and knocking at the door of an author. This is what we have seen in most of the
Yeah,
movies, but that is not the case.
that's not
That is not the case. And so you have been making portraits as well, like an artist. As an artist, have you been doing that?
No,
No, it's
I
like
enjoy photography.
photography.
And so for me, when I started to write, my first love, and it's always been poetry.
Right.
And for me, it's important to be able to capture a visual
Yes.
in words.
Yes.
And that visual is what stimulates me. And that visual has mostly come in the form of photographs.
Yes.
So if I'm traveling, I've always had the camera with me, and it would be nature, or it would be
Yes.
very routine things happening on the streets.
We have seen that in your Instagram account, sir.
Yeah, so
It's like
for me, if I'm in Bombay, I would see it from a very different perspective.
definitely
You
a very
leave the
different
house
one.
at 7 a.m., walk the streets,
Yes.
and capture something that even the local people haven't seen.
From that perspective. So when I was going through your Instagram account, doing my R&D for this episode of ours, I was like, it takes me so much time to even figure out a 5D image, like, you know, where we are required to concentrate and see what comes out and goes in. And then here you are, who are capturing such simple pictures, maybe of a bird, maybe of a lotus flower. I've seen all this on your page.
Right.
And then it was not the picture that fascinated me, it was actually the caption, the descriptive caption. And that too, sir, in both the languages. You're so perfect with English, and then again, you have such a perfect hand at Hindi as well. So I've seen those captions, sir.
So thank you so much. But you know what happens is when you see a visual, it's a spiritual doorway that opens.
Right.
And I personally feel that when you are in nature, it's the easiest to connect with the higher power, the divine. And when there's that exquisite beauty, you have to be blessed and sensitive to understand that everything that artists do is to paint a picture of a scene in nature or capture it in the camera. We are all second-hand artists. The original artist is the one who's created everything,
the
right?
divine part, true.
So when you connect with and appreciate the divine power's creation, you suddenly see that doorway opening.
Yes.
Something beyond you will come and whisper the words that need to go there.
Right.
And everything just fits together. That here is the poem that's given to you to write. So in those perfectly still moments, which are now because of so much of scrolling, so much of internet, so much of noise, so much of fast-paced cinema, today we expect everything should be shown to us in a 30-second reel. We don't have attention spans beyond that.
There are YouTube shorts, and then there are
Yeah.
reels and the stories that we check, and nobody has the time to go through the entire episode.
Right.
Somehow we
So when you slow down, deliberately slow down in the lap of nature, when you go for holidays or excursions, it's so important. The camera is not important. The lighting is not important. Because the divine is creating such a beautiful natural light. Once that scene opens, it's not your eyes that see it. Your inner eye sees that beautiful image. It captures it, and suddenly you feel, oh, I must utter a prayer in the praise of the Creator. So I feel a lot of this inspiration comes from reading people like Rabindranath Tagore.
Definitely.
Very rare people have understood that he's just constantly talking about flowers being offered and beauty being praised. That's a very different kind of love for the divine.
Right.
And a lot of our spiritual teachers have done it. So what you talk about, I take no claim for it. And that's what an artist should truly do. You do it, and then you say, okay, I am only a source. कि मैं सिर्फ एक जरिया हूँ, मेरे थ्रू ये म्यूजिक प्ले किया गया है. आई एम अ फ्लूट थ्रू विच द म्यूजिक गोज, एंड द प्लेयर ऑफ द म्यूजिक इज द डिवाइन. वो मेरे हाथ यूज करे, मेरा कैमरा यूज करे, मुझे वर्ड्स दे दे. when you reach that stage,
Yes.
you know that I'm at peace. And I
Yes,
believe for
yes.
every artist who's expressing themselves, it's so important to stop becoming a showman.
Of course, that's what I was about to say. Like, I've seen people clicking hundreds of pictures, eliminating all of these. इसमें मेरा ये अच्छा नहीं है, इसमें मेरा वो अच्छा नहीं है. And here you are clicking a simple picture of a simple object that already exists there in nature.
We see it every day.
Yes, and you have not done any setup for that. You have
Natural
captured it
colours.
as it is, and then you have so much to talk about it.
Because, life is, and writing is, a very deliberate act of slowing down. And unfortunately, until unless we put the brakes on, we will run through 60, 70, 80, 90 years of our life without making an observation, and without sitting down to praise what God is actually giving us.
That's a waste
You know,
of
like a
life.
glass of water, the food we eat.
True.
If you're taking that bite, if suddenly you say, okay, let me thank the person who took 6 months to go to a mandi,
True.
buy those seeds,
yes.
plant them, and then wait for the harvest for 6 months, nurturing it every day, watching that crop, tilling the soil, and then somebody sent it to a mill. It was ground into flour, and then somebody made it into a roti with love for me.
Yes.
And I'm here consuming it.
It's all about being grateful at the
Yeah,
end of the day.
and being aware
Yes.
that we are in an interconnected world.
Yes. So we
This
must
is
acknowledge everybody.
every bite is love.
Yes.
And when we come into that state, I feel life becomes much easier. We
It
stop
does.
complaining, we stop regretting, we stop not seeing beauty. If you need my Instagram account to see beauty, and you can't walk into your front lawn and say, okay, now I feel the grass and the dew on the grass.
Yes.
I can smell the first rose in the spring. How many people have this beauty around them, but oh, I have to get to that meeting. Let me just brew my first cup of coffee. Let me get in the car and put my laptop in. Boss is waiting. All that noise is in our head, and we miss everything beautiful.
And now there's one thing about praising the beauty that we see from our eyes, and then what I keep on I'm continuously highlighting the fact there's a completely different perspective, so that you have. Now I'm going to state an example as well.
Okay.
There's a bunch of flowers, and you compare it with a maths teacher in your account, in an Instagram account. Second thing, where I think you visited a vineyard or something, where the grapes, are being fermented.
Right.
And what a romantic caption you have written. Let the love ferment.
Yeah. So I personally feel that our influences come from different sources, and I regard one of my greatest sources of inspiration. Like I said, for nature, it's a lot about Rabindranath Tagore and a lot of the Japanese poets. And then there is the great Persian poet of love, who is regarded as the most amazing, exalted poet when it comes to love, is Jalaluddin Rumi. And Rumi's poetry, because in the religion of Islam, it's always wine and liquor is always haram.
Yes.
But he would deliberately use these metaphors to signify that this sort of drunkenness is on divine love.
Yes.
जिसको हम हमारे रिलीजन में, चाहे वो कबीर जी हैं, चाहे वो गुरु हैं, सबने उसको खुमारी कहा है.
Yes.
कि वो दैट खुमार इज व्हेन यू सडनली मर्ज विद द डिवाइन. आप कोई एक्टिविटी कर रहे हैं जो आपको बहुत पसंद है, आप ड्रॉ कर रहे हो, आप पेंट कर रहे हो, आपको सडनली लगता है 3 घंटे निकल गए.
Right.
या आप गार्डनिंग कर रहे हो एंड यू आर जस्ट टॉकिंग टू द फ्लावर्स,
You get so engrossed in that.
यू गेट सो एनग्रॉस्ड, यू डोंट नो. एंड देन यू कम बैक टू रियलाइज कि वो 3 घंटे में वेयर्स माई बॉडी, वेयर्स टाइम, ना मुझे भूख लग रही है, ना मुझे प्यास लग रही है, बिकॉज यू हैव मर्ज्ड विद द एक्टिविटी. योर ईगो इज गॉन.
True.
And when that sort of love comes over you, then you can start seeing it everywhere.
Yes.
So that fermenting of the grapes and fermenting of love is this.
Yes.
कि कितने साल कई बार लग जाते हैं आपका टीनेज हार्ट ब्रेक होगा, आपको रिलेशनशिप में दुख होगा, कोई और तरह की प्रॉब्लम आएगी, then ultimately you'll come to a point, okay, I was being tested, my patience was being tested, and when you cross those stages, that's the bitter fermentation happening with various chemicals and treatment.
This is
Uske
how
baad
you saw
you
that.
turn
Yeah.
into fine wine.
Yes.
You are delicious, you are tasteful, and everybody will want to have a flavor
Yes.
of what you've got. So I think
So
we all go
valued.
through that journey.
Yes, we all do.
Yes, and
Some
then
of
you
us make
become
it through.
writers or painters. आप किसी का canvas देखोगे, you'll
Yes.
fall in love with it.
Yes, definitely. Even if you don't understand the art behind it, but yes, there is something that attracts us to it.
Yes.
Yes.
So I use one of the key examples of the recent phenomenon, which will connect with a lot of your readers, listeners, and people who are watching.
Yes.
Diljit Dosanjh,
Yes.
right? So that man is so beautifully in tune. I was watching an interview with one of the Grammy Award people the other day,
Yes.
and he said, I'm not doing anything, it's happening. And that surrender, that faith. See, आपको सारी जिंदगी आप सुबह माथा टेक के मंदिर से टीका लगा के निकलते हैं, बट आप उस टीके की आड़ में अगर सब कुछ समर्पित करके निकलो कि ओके, यू आर डिवाइन, माय job is to only do the things, but you will take care of everything.
Everything, the result.
Right? So here is Diljit Dosanjh's phenomenal example.
Yes.
He gets up and starts the day, everything is being taken care of. And वो उस मस्ती में वो अगर गा देता है तो वो भी हिट है, वो कॉन्सर्ट कर देता है तो वो भी हिट है, वो मेट गाला में चला जाता है तो वो भी हिट है. Why this is happening? Because he is living a very beautiful surrendered life. Lot of us start saying मुझे दिलजीत दोसांझ बनना है, मुझे वो बनना है.
We
Be
do have our
yourself.
idols there.
Be yourself, and there is that beautiful path for everyone.
Yes.
And
a predestined one.
Predestined
I guess.
one,
Yes.
and you can make that path even more beautiful by surrendering on every stage. There's no effort involved. My divine power is guiding me and taking me in that direction. So when you watch Diljit Dosanjh, it's not to pick up his clothes, his shoes, his sense of dressing. It's to pick up the thought process.
True.
When the thought process is, I'm so in awe and in love. Everybody talks about he's so grounded. वो हाथ जोड़ के हर एक से कर रहा. He's not putting up an act.
Of course,
he speaks in Punjabi.
Yes, he does.
He's doing his natural thing.
Yes.
He's not trying to be someone else, trying to impress someone at the Met Gala.
It's just going
He's
with
just
the flow.
being.
And yeah.
So when we stop trying too hard, we become
things start
ourselves.
falling in place.
So that's what flowers teach me.
Yes.
That's what that beautiful sunrise teaches me. Sunrise के time, nobody is taking an extra effort कि यहाँ थोड़ा orange ज़्यादा दे देते हैं, ये cloud को थोड़ा सा grey और कर देते हैं.
Of course.
It's
so
just
beautiful
there.
naturally. It's just there. Yes.
And that's वो जब सहज हो जाती है जिंदगी, it starts to become more tuned, and suddenly you'll feel people are calling me, people are getting attracted to my work. आपने कुछ नहीं बदला, आपने सरेंडर कर दिया.
Right.
सडनली आपको लगेगा यार वो तो एवरेज वॉइस है, दिलजीत दोसांझ से बेहतर बेहतर गाने वाले बैठे हैं, उनको कोई नहीं जानता, वो सड़क पे भीख मांग रहे हैं. देन यूल से नहीं नहीं, गॉड्स, इट्स जस्ट दैट ही इज ओपनिंग टू रिसीविंग. एंड हाउ डू यू ओपन टू रिसीव? व्हेन यू जस्ट से आई एम इन लव, आई सी ब्यूटी एवरीवेयर, आई थैंक एवरीथिंग, एंड देन सडनली योर आर्ट, योर क्रिएटिविटी, everything starts to speak that one language, which is universal. वो हर एक के साथ आपने देखा होगा, लोग ओवरनाइट फिनोमेना बनते हैं.
बिल्कुल बनते हैं.
वो ऐसे बनते हैं when they become committed to that.
And this has always been there. It's not that the social media is, doing anything for that. I mean, it's
an added advantage today
that
people
we have
worry
today.
about algorithms.
Yes,
is Diljit Dosanjh working as per algorithms? Is he following what YouTube is telling him? He is not following any artificial intelligence.
Not at all.
He is following the divine intelligence.
Yes.
So I believe AI से DI पे अगर हम चले जाए ना, we will all be so peaceful.
True.
There'll be so much love. Today when you see the world, there's so much war, there's so much of conflict. वो restlessness क्या है? मैं उसकी ज़मीन ले लूँ, मैं उसका घर ले लूँ, मेरी ideology superior है, उसकी ideology inferior है. I was thinking about this, and I have a half-written poem which probably I'll post tomorrow, because I clicked a picture and I saved it. I had once clicked a butterfly with its beautiful colored wings sitting on a flower. So I said, look, here is a divine conversation. The butterfly is getting nectar, and the flower knows in exchange she's going to carry my
It's the pollen grains.
pollen and
Yes.
everything, and I will get my message everywhere. If
True.
I give her a taste of the sweetness, she's going to do all that labor of love.
Yes.
And the flower is not objecting. It's not closing up. Sorry, today the shop is
No
closed. I won't
entry.
give you
Yeah.
nectar.
Yeah.
And I said, if we all could naturally interact with each other like that,
True.
how much
True.
more peaceful love would be, a world would be. There would be no conflict.
Yes.
Why does the flower need to say, oh, nee, nee, mere colors bright and I'm superior? Or the butterfly says, look at my wings, I'm more beautiful, I'm entitled to drinking all your nectar.
Yes.
Only humans operate like that.
Only humans. True. Very true.
So when I see nature, this is what I get. That is why the photographs, that is why the poetry. So for me, everything comes together. If I sit for 5 minutes, a bee would come and teach me something in go. So where is the teacher? Teacher is life everywhere.
Everywhere around us, and it's very important to take those teachings along with you throughout the day and throughout the life, in fact, not even only the day. So definitely, sir. And like as we started our conversation, talking about all the things that you explored, be it writing, be it your photography, then meditation, the business that is going on, that takes, I guess, much amount of your time of the day as well. It does. So sir, has there been any field that you also eliminated with time, or maybe just stopped showing interest in it anymore?
Not interest, but over the 20 odd years I've been a voice artist.
Yes.
And there's an interesting story to it. I was in a phone conversation, and a random stranger over the phone about 20 years ago said, you have a very attractive voice, you should try for the radio. I said, stop flattering me.
All right.
I don't. And then it suddenly hit me.
Yes.
Maybe there's a element of truth in that. Let me give it a shot. So I just went ahead and auditioned, and I did 20 years of radio, which included different shows, different genres. I tried different things, loved some of them. It led me to writing documentaries, voicing. It even led me to write the whole book of stories, because I got very fond of sharing stories of various authors on radio. And then I realized, why don't I write my own and share?
Wow.
So it becomes a journey. One thing leads to the other.
True.
But after 20 years of various formats, I suddenly realized that I'm sort of outgrowing
All right.
the desire to do radio.
All right.
So it shifted into what is now the thing of the times, podcasting.
Yes.
And I developed my own podcasts.
All right.
The day I wanted to do something spiritual, I would do that.
Wow.
And having been happy with all three languages, so kabhi Hindi, kabhi Punjabi, kabhi English, and I said, okay, nobody is restricting me here. And I would just spontaneously sit in front of my mic and turn it on, and I put hundreds of episodes out there, and I don't even bother if someone's listening or not listening.
Of course.
So this came after radio, and radio sort of fell off my radar, because sometimes when it's a performance, it's within a certain set of guidelines.
Yes.
And podcasting, I feel, is a new medium of freedom.
Speaking your mind out,
your
heart out.
You don't have to stick to a format.
Definitely.
TG. Always target group was the thing in the radio industry. कि आपका टारगेट ग्रुप 17 to 35 है, आप उनके मतलब की बात करो. धीरे धीरे विद टाइम समझ में ये आता है, अपने मन की बात करो. Like our Prime Minister keeps talking, so Man Ki Baat. Yes. So I feel that every person who's on this planet will remain restless जब तक वो अपने मन की बात नहीं करते. चाहे वो रंगों से करें, किताबों से करें, डांस करके करें, प्लीज अपने मन की बात.
It's very important to be expressive.
Yeah. So that's what's changed. I think one of the key things that I really loved and was passionate about for many years was radio. It's not dropped off, but it's changed its
format.
Identity.
Yeah, the format has changed, I guess, for you. And talking about the radio, like since you have given 20 years of your life, to radio. So there were shows like Love Guru, and
Yeah.
then there, I mean, we used to fall asleep listening to that show. We were like, we just want to hear that soothing voice
या सो मेरे को
always,
आज बहुत साल हो गए हैं
always.
ये सोचते हुए कि ये कॉम्प्लीमेंट होता था कि
No,
जैसे
that's
जैसे
always a
एक प्रोफेसर
compliment.
की क्लास में बच्चे
No,
सो जाते हैं
that's
सो
not
लॉट
the
ऑफ पीपल
way.
वुड से आई हैव टू फॉल ऑफ टू स्लीप लिसनिंग टू योर वॉइस
Yes,
एंड आई
I
यूज्ड
meant
टू
the same thing.
या
I'm sorry. It was not कि मैं इसलिए सो जाती थी क्योंकि it was boring. Actually, it was so soothing. It was just like music, sir. Your
Yeah.
voice.
I think so. So we like God bless that person who one day told me give it a shot.
Yes.
And then gradually I first started doing a very tapori kind of a show in Mumbaiya language, desperately trying to impress the audience, and that lasted to a month or so.
By the name of?
That I don't even remember
was
the
a
name. It
segment
was a
maybe,
very
yeah.
very
Yeah.
horrible show
All right.
in 2006.
All right.
And I still remember, and my immediate boss at
Hmm.
that point used to be uh, Ayushman Khurana's
Oh.
wife Tahira. She
Oh.
was the creative head, and God bless her, she was so patient tolerating that nonsense for 2 weeks, 2 months, and
Whose
then
idea was that? Like,
I went up to them,
All
to
right.
that private station from All India Radio. Then
All
let's do something fun. I was so enamored at that stage by
Right.
Munna Bhai.
Okay.
I said, let's do that. I'm very good at
Things that
mimicry.
inspire you at different stages of life.
I was a mimic at that time.
Yes.
So then I realized, hey, I don't have to mimic. I have to be original.
Yes.
Then those guys came up with a show for the late night. And I still remember vividly, first night, we turned the radio on and I started speaking. And the engineer was there in the other room. He came back running to me and said, sir, is that you? Is that you speaking? I said, yeah, it's me. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
So, and they started calling that show Wednesday Ki Setting. So, and the whole idea was to get people to call up and get together.
Yes.
So I distinctly remember a very beautiful incident. There's this young woman who called me. She said, I'm from an army background. We are in our house and we have these family friends who are visiting. I'm of a marriageable age and I have a crush on my dad's friend's son who's sleeping in the other room, and I have told him to turn on the radio and listen to your show. I don't have the guts to propose to him. Can you convey my message to him? So it so happened that I nicely, poetically wrapped up her love message and I conveyed. And 6 weeks later, at the radio station, I receive a wedding card.
Wow.
Sir, you have to come to our
Of course,
wedding
you are the
because it
one.
is because of you that it has happened.
Yes.
It would have never happened.
Yes.
So there were so many such beautiful things. But the key here is to understand that from doing a show that was noise and no one wanted, within 2-3 weeks, I transformed it into something that helped people. One,
Yes.
I was being original. Two, I was listening to my heart.
Yes.
Three, I was speaking to other people's heart. So any young artist who's budding, I want them to put their hand on their heart and say,
Yes.
this is who I am as an artist. This is what my strength is. I don't have to copy an existing radio jock or an artist.
Yes.
I just have to be myself.
That was your thing that you did, and this was like always live, and this is always live. You take calls.
I used to do a lot
how
of
is
live
it?
calls,
All right.
and we used to sometimes pre-record calls
Yes.
because I remember doing calls where we would go for 90 minutes.
Oh.
So they would record the
Of
calls
course, they'll
and
edit it
use
accordingly.
cut out 90
Yes, that's
seconds
very practical.
and use
Yes.
it later, because sometimes people would discuss at length what their problems are, what their heartbreaks are, and those radio days, then when I shifted from that setting channel to Radio Mantra, I started doing a show by the pseudonym of Rehan.
Yes.
For the reason that I wanted to protect my identity in this city.
All right.
I didn't want to be noticed. I didn't want to be in the limelight.
Yes.
And this was going national.
Alright.
So I was most heard in Varanasi, Gorakhpur, Patna, and Haryana. And it's sort of, for 7 years, people used to think that there is someone who's come from Pakistan or something who speaks very good Urdu, whose name is
Heartful.
Rehan, who does this show. And it
Alright.
helped me develop some amazing friendships. Those people who were teenagers back then are lawyers, doctors, PhDs, professionals, um, and they are still connected with me. And there are 2 3 of them who are so close that I wrote references when they were applying to Oxford. I receive wishes every Teachers' Day for them. And surprisingly, those teenagers tell me, we learned more on the radio show than what life was teaching us.
True.
So, can you imagine that there's this richness of human connection
Of course.
that comes through this? So, I believe the one thing that I miss from radio is this human connection, which is very deep. एंड इट्स अ लाइफ टाइम कनेक्शन. आपको सडनली पता लगता है कि मैंने कितने सारे लोगों की जिंदगी में डिफरेंस पैदा किया.
You have touched them as well as,
So after I left radio, I'm suddenly sitting, and a friend of mine who was a sound engineer, he's traveling to UP, and he happens to be in Varanasi, and he also was doing freelance work for the radio, and so he stopped by at the radio station, and he meets this young man who says कि सर आप जलंधर से आए हो, आप रेहान को जानते हो, आप उनसे मेरी बात करा दो. So that guy gets on a video call with me, and we have a good chat, and he says, सर आप जानते नहीं हो, मैं उत्तराखंड के हिल्स में एक सिंपल विलेज फैमिली से हूँ, और मैं भेड़ें चराने जाया करता था, और तब रिकॉर्डिंग इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स नहीं होते थे, इंटरनेट नहीं होता था. मैं आपका शो रिकॉर्ड करके अपने डिवाइस पे साथ लेके जाया करता था. मैं उसको बार बार सुना करता था. फिर मैं घर जाके अपने मॉम, अपने दादा दादी, उनके सामने, डैड के सामने मैं आपको इम्पर्सोनेट करके कॉपी करके दिखाता था, और वो कहते थे तू फेक है, वो ओरिजिनल है. All said and done, I loved the chat, and he said, sir, and I look forward to you and listening to you. Since I was out of touch, I had no idea. So somebody told me, then he gave me his name, and I would not take his name here on the podcast because I don't know how he would take it. वो मैंने प्रोफाइल चेक किया, बिकॉज मैंने एक दिन मेरा माथा ठनका, वो बहुत सारी रील्स में उसकी आवाज़ चल रही थी, and he was narrating poetry. I said, I mean, this guy is his audio is being used by various people, he must be popular.
Yes.
So I checked out, and he has over 4 million followers, and he's a big time radio jock. And that day, it hit me.
Yes.
That sometimes it's your job to walk into a simple sheep herder's family and life in a village and change the path of his life.
You had no
So
idea
your
how many
job,
lives you were touching actually.
So आपका काम ये नहीं है कि आप उस फेम और उस स्टेज पे जाओ.
True.
आपका काम है लोगों को हेल्प करो.
True.
So when a lot of people don't credit the teachers of all the dancers and performers who are performing in live shows, all the actors who are, nobody is talking about their coaches. Nobody. Right? They are never known.
Yes.
So sometimes you need to understand that your karmic journey in this life is to help others.
True.
And that day when that guy told me, I made peace with the fact. पहले मुझे बड़ा बुरा लगा. यार, how come these kids learn from me and they become so and so?
I know, it's always there.
And I said, but for 20 years I hid my identity, I hid my name. जो चीज मुझे चाहिए नहीं यूनिवर्स से, मैंने मांगी नहीं कभी. How can I complain?
Yes.
मांगा होता 20 साल पहले तो मिल गया होता. वो मे बी शिद्दत से यही मांग रहा था. I want to be a famous RJ.
Yes.
Very clear
vision he has.
Vision.
Yes.
So that's another thing for the youngsters.
True.
Please ask for what you want in life.
Be specific.
Be specific and work with full honesty in that direction. And
True.
when you find it, learn to make peace with it.
Yes.
So today I feel so satisfied. I said, शायद मैं कुछ फेमस हो गया होता तो मुझे ये इतनी satisfaction नहीं मिलनी थी जितनी इसको सिखा के मिली.
I always wanted to ask this from you, that if you can share an incident that which made you realize that this is my inner calling of helping others, which you have already answered now.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, so this was
Yeah,
already
you're
on my
right.
mind.
ये बल्ब बहुत लेट जला,
हाँ,
लेकिन जब जला तो मुझे
it anyways
realize हो
comes
गया
with
because
age.
a few years ago when I started doing writing workshops, that's
Right.
another work
Yes,
aspect,
of
and you
course.
said you're going to talk
I
about it
will
with,
be. I will
right?
be.
So uh, when I was conducting these writing workshops with my wife, and she was my sort of co-pilot in the whole thing, she would, herd me back into uh, not losing track. And when people started coming, after 3 4 workshops, I found, and she pointed it out to me, do you realize that in a first 20 minutes people break down and they bring out their pains and traumas and sufferings and their deepest fears, and it happens in your workshop in half an hour with each and every person, and we have a room full of people who are in tears. Do you know this is a gift to be able to help people heal?
Yes, yes.
And it then immediately struck me. I was innocently trying to give them the craft of making characters and writing. But when every person, when they go deep within, they first touch their rawest wound before they can do anything creative. So, another thing for your audiences and for young people,
Yes.
if you have a raw wound, unhealed trauma, that's not going to let you creatively flourish till you make peace. If it's with a parent, if it's with a lost relative, if it's the trauma of being bullied, if it's an abuse. I have had cases coming
Everyone
from
has
all
something.
these
Yes,
directions,
yes.
and till those people made peace, they reconciled with themselves. They had peace in their heart, they could not write. So, again, when
Obviously.
writing gave me this, I realized my job is to help people
Again, yes.
in every direction.
Yes.
So, when you said Love Guru, can you imagine? I was dumbfounded one day when a lady called me. We have lost our son in Bahrain. ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੁੱਤਰ ਦੀ ਡੈਡ ਬੋਡੀ ਲਿਆਣੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਡੀਸੀ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿ ਕੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਸਾਡਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ? And I realized how much pain, how much suffering is there, how many people are looking
Up to you.
for healing.
Yes, yes.
And they think that somebody who's out there,
yes.
they can use that shoulder.
Out of our conversation, it's like I'm able to make out, irrespective of the work, the task they had at hand, it was you they were looking up to anyways. Like they knew, since you have healed so many people,
And
you're just helping them.
imagine not to have seen a person.
Yes.
They are only connecting with a voice.
Yes.
So when you understand, when any one of your listeners understands, my magic wand is, say, uh, my practice of helping others in one way or the other, please understand that when you help people, you're helping yourself. When you go beyond your personal this thing, suddenly the whole universe will come together.
Yes.
To give you enough means to flourish yourself. Because when I look back at this 20-year-old journey, to do radio, to manage a business,
Yes.
to raise a family, where does the balance come from? Where do the resources come from?
I was
Resources
just thinking about that.
come from the blessings of the people
Whom
whose lives you have
helped.
touched.
Yes, yes.
So everybody needs to understand that until unless you go beyond yourself and you do something
And
extra.
you were never doing this too, with any personal motive.
Yeah,
Anyways,
I have no,
yes,
I have no
yes.
reason. So for many years, my plain directive used to be that like most religions talk about giving away 10% of your earnings, and radio used to be about 5 to 10% of what I earned. Various sources. I would always find a charitable reason and very quietly, anonymously give away that money. I would say, I will never make money from this.
Right.
And can you imagine, 20 years later, when I felt, oh, now my expenses are more, I need more money for something.
Yes.
Radio would never give me. Because why? I signed a pact 20 years back,
Yes.
which was, I will not make money from this.
That's true.
So until unless I go back and change my... you see, when we order to the universe, when we choose words, we have to choose them very wisely.
Very wisely, yes.
So जो आप order दोगे वो मिलेगा.
Even when we are manifesting something, you have to be very careful. What would be the consequences?
Yes.
Yes.
So if you ask for a learning,
yes,
it'll come. If you ask for a teaching, it'll come. If you ask for an experience, it'll come. So it's very important to have a very nice set of thoughts every day
Yeah,
and
and
then
this keeps
ask.
me reminding of the book Alchemist as well, where it always
Yes.
mentions
Yeah.
that the entire universe conspires
Yeah.
to ensure that you get what you have
Yeah.
manifested and all these things. But yes, I mean, listening to you, Abhi, throughout this, that how you have been helping
Yeah.
people throughout their lives, and then be it for anything, like people started looking up to you. Gradually, that image was created that if we have a problem, it's only love, Guru, because this love was not restricted to a love between a couple,
Yeah,
between a
that was
husband,
also
between a
very
girlfriend,
nice.
boyfriend. Yes.
That it was not candy floss love. Oh, I have a
Yes,
crush on that guy. Aap
it
meri
was not
baat
always
kara do.
that.
No, it was not. It was
Yes.
always deeper relationships, and there were things where would keep me sleepless. Once a man called me, said, "I'm living as a tenant in a house. They are a husband and a wife who have no relationship, and that woman and I have had a relationship, and the three of us are
Yes.
fully aware and living with this understanding for 20 years.
Hmm.
And his own family is in a village somewhere, and he keeps going back and forth. He says, now I want to get away and go back to my family. And for the first time, I was dumbfounded that how complicated people create their lives to be, that it's so difficult to break away from them. And I used to receive calls and requests from people with such strange conditions. I used to next day walk out in the city and wonder how many of these people are the ones who've called me
Yes.
and who've asked that they're suffering.
So, I mean, if I put myself in your shoes and I feel that, I am listening to people's problem, giving them, offering them solutions side by side, obviously I myself will be deeply, deeply affected by it.
Yeah.
So, what was that one practice that helped you keep sane?
Yeah,
Matlab, the
that's
sanity.
such a
Yes.
good question, and my wife always keeps telling me and always has been
Yes.
suggesting. I think it's very important. A lot of people don't understand that we ultimately are energies. We carry energies. We meet people. We get their energy. We
We
give them
do. Even
energy,
if you're
right?
reading
Whether
a
it's
book,
negative or positive.
we watch a series, like बहुत engross होके अगर हम कोई सीरीज देख लें,
Yeah,
हम लोग वो कैरेक्टर्स को हम लोग थोड़ा सा वो आ जाता है अपने
yeah.
अंदर, वो उनका बोलने का तरीका या चलने
Tarika. So
उठने का
every energy is
we get
influencing.
influenced. And then if you're
Yeah.
reading a book, हम लोग कोई कैरेक्टर से हो जाते हैं और हम वैसा
You
सोचने
fall
लग
in love
जाते
with
हैं.
that person. You create the whole image. You create the scent
You
of
go
that.
and watch a thriller, you become suspicious of your own husband.
Yeah.
It's like that. It happens.
It
It
does. It
happens.
does
You
happen.
get
Psychologically,
affected.
it changes. So
And
I
here
feel,
you were
yeah,
listening to so many stories, like
right.
so often, and then कभी ऐसा नहीं हुआ कि आप सबको शक की निगाहों से देख रहे हो, you
No,
like
not Shak. I think a lot of empathy comes up, and you feel, let me count my blessings. That if in this world full of pain, ache, and suffering, if you can remain sane, it's a great thing. And the more you keep giving that out, the better it becomes
so
in terms of
what
healing.
helped you in
So
that?
what helps you balances, you keep your aura closed and you meditate a lot,
All right,
and you
meditation.
make sure that you keep going back to the divine. And you see, a lot of us really undervalue gratitude.
Yes.
And off late, 2 years ago, I've had a little health episode. It was a quick diagnosis of a cancer, and the solution came in for 5 days. I had a surgery. Post that, I think a major shift has happened in terms of valuing life. It's very cliched. Till you are hit by,
Yes,
when death crosses you like this,
it is.
till then you don't realize, oh, what if I had 2 months? Have I done my bucket list? Have I completed what I wanted to do? And you also understand how many things in this life I've taken for granted and I've not expressed thank you, and how many aspects of life are there wherein I'm not appreciating. Am I completely considering certain relationships to be invisible?
Yes.
Do I take them for granted? Do I have negativity? So when you start shifting those things, you suddenly feel that no negative energy can come to you. You're
Close
like
to
in a
you.
beautiful bubble of white light, whereby अगर आप अच्छी एनर्जी रेडिएट कर रहे हो, अच्छी इंटेंशन से
Yes.
लोगों से मिल रहे हो, तो किसी की नेगेटिविटी आप पे बूमरैंग हो ही नहीं सकती.
नहीं हो सकती.
We are always mirroring our feelings.
Yes.
So imagine you see anyone, you meet anyone, if there is something that triggers anger in you, that means that's the same thing in you
Alright.
that's causing you upset.
That's quite deep. Alright.
So understand that.
Yes.
Every time, so observe it next time.
I'll do that.
And you will feel that, oh, this is actually my insecurity.
Yes.
Now, in an amplified, magnified way, that person is behaving in a certain way. It's exactly how I sometimes feel I am. Though I don't accept it, but that's how God works. It divine keeps putting a mirror around you, shows you, hello.
Yes.
Time to correct this.
There
Hello,
are
time to correct
there
this.
are ideals that we have been taught. We need to be like that. We need to follow, and then we do have our insecurities that, as you said, gets mirrored by the person that you're interacting.
And I think that's also a big flaw. People keep telling us, be like that, be like that.
Yeah, it is.
For every young person, for
Yes.
every human being, be yourself.
We have had moral science classes through since
Be
ages
yourself.
as
Yeah,
a part
because
of our curriculum.
yeah, the best part is to be yourself, and once you start listening to that inner compass,
Yes.
it'll always show you the right direction. So I've just discovered this of late, that the mind and the heart are always in a tug of war, right? Dil kuch kehta hai, dimag kuch kehta hai.
Always.
And this might be news for a lot of people, but sunni sirf dil ki chahiye. Because your heart is in tune with the divine.
Okay.
It is the purest and the shortest cut to what is right for you. और जहाँ जहाँ आप आज भी सोच लो कि हार्ट की सुन रहे हो तो आप खुश हो, जहाँ हार्ट ना खुश है वहाँ आपका दिमाग आपसे गलत काम करवाएगा, आपको गुस्सा दिलाएगा, इरिटेट करेगा, मिसबिहेव कराएगा, रिबेलियन कराएगा. जहाँ आपका हार्ट खुश है, you'll see that the mind also fills up with beautiful
और
thoughts.
दिमाग से चलेंगे तो ये बिहेवियर
दिमाग से चलेंगे तो आप सही चॉइस हाँ करेगा. आप हमेशा आपको fork in the road दिख रहा है, so please put your hand on your heart and say what's the feeling. Okay. If that choice sends your heart fluttering with joy, please choose that. Not because what the brain says, इधर पैसे बच रहे हैं, ये शॉर्टकट है, ये यही रास्ता लेना चाहिए, सब यहीं से जाते हैं, ये सेफ है. Please follow the heart. And there's a difference between following your heart and having a sixth sense and intuition. Yeah, this is the same thing. It's the same thing. Your intuition will always speak through the heart. Through the heart. Intuition will. आप अगर कोई भी डिसीजन लेने से पहले ना, लॉजिकल आपने अगर कोई डिसीजन लिया, अच्छा अगर मैं चॉइस ए लूँ तो ask your heart, it will give you the right answer. अगर वो हाँ बोलेगा ना, तो both of them will align and that is your way. If both of them don't align, then that's not your way. Now this is one advice that you're giving for being a good human being. For anything in life, even for being successful, even for being Diljit Dosanjh, he only listens to his heart. The thing is, your profile also mentions that you're a leadership coach. So I think that's how you lead. I have understood. The same thing goes. Yes, lead from the heart, please. It does. Yeah. Lead from the heart. I thought for being professional, for being a professional leader, maybe at somebody's workplace, you need to use. So I'll give you a very beautiful example. After 20 years of working, yes, I said, you can't be type A here, type B there, type C there. I mean, you can't have a different mask in different places, right? It becomes very troublesome. Yeah, so you're not an authentic person. Switch on, switch off. Yeah. So if I'm 8 hours at work, same love, all right, same attitude, same belief system has to come for people at my workplace that I have for people outside my workplace. Wow. That's a great piece of advice. I'm trying to do that for the last year or so. Yes. And the results are stunning. The kind of productivity. Because again, you see, I am not trying to mold a person working for me for my own ends. Yes. I sit and ask that person, okay, sit down. What are your goals? What are your priorities? What are your passions that excite you? All right. Right? And when, say, 10 people employed in your organization have goals and passions, and you put yours also there, and all 11 align, yes, then that company, that business can skyrocket. It does. But if those guys are thinking about, इस महीने क्या मिलेगा, कितना एक्स्ट्रा मिलेगा, मैं क्यों ऐसे करूं, मैं क्यों अपने आप को बियॉन्ड माय लाइन ऑफ ड्यूटी स्ट्रेच करूं, हाँ, so if you own it, can I get them to own it? See,
That's when the
lot of
sense of
business people
ownership.
will say, "Oh
Yeah.
no, this is too ideal."
Yeah.
But
Yes.
I believe again,
Yes.
if you believe that every human being is a part of the divine, and he's on this planet
Hmm.
to fulfill their purpose,
Hmm.
what's the difference? You are here to fulfill yours.
Yes.
The person behind the camera is fulfilling his.
True.
I'm fulfilling mine.
Yes.
But together, when we synergize,
Yes.
we have an intention of taking a message out to the
Out there.
people.
Yes.
And that message will be beautiful, it'll be packed nicely, it'll be effective only when our three intentions align.
Yes.
If you see, in physics, we were always taught wave,
Yes. Always.
right? And those waves are constructive or destructive. जब आप समुंदर किनारे होते हो, एक वेव आती है, दूसरी वेव अगर एग्जैक्टली उसके ऊपर राइड करे तो उसका एम्पलीट्यूड डबल हो जाता है, राइट? अगर वो दूसरी वेव पहली में आके क्रैश करे तो उसको भी डिस्ट्रॉय कर देती है, एनर्जी गोज टू जीरो. सो व्हेन 3 people 4 people in a room amplify that energy, then the signal is so strong, it can reach millions of people.
It does. Yes.
Right? So all that basic physics applies to human beings, their feelings, their intentions. So अगर आप सोचो 100 लोग एक कंपनी में एक आइडियोलॉजी, एक बिलीफ से काम कर रहे होंगे, सो वो अगर ओनर $1 million चाहता है और सब लोग अगर उसमें लगे हैं, that company will probably make $1 billion.
And this works on a decentralized model. Does
It works
like,
everywhere, even
no,
on relationships.
yes.
And in what sense
Is
decentralized?
decentralized as in like you interact with 10 of your employees and then they go on to talk to
Yeah.
10
So
each. Like,
tell
is
me,
it like a
tell
chain?
me,
How
it's
it works?
isn't it a ripple effect that
It
let's
can work
take
like
an
that, no?
let's take an example. Your partner walks in a bad mood from work.
Yes.
Because the boss got a scolding from his wife.
Yes.
He came in with a bad mood.
Yes.
He transferred it to your partner.
Yes.
Your partner came home and transferred that bad mood to you.
I
You
might take it
transferred
out
it
on
to
my children or maybe
or
the
children or
domestic
your
help.
friend or
Yeah.
your domestic help.
Yeah.
So the ripple effect is always there.
It's always there.
So if that negativity can be transferred, why can't positivity be transferred?
Yes.
If so, you're aware of the concept of pay it forward.
Yes.
And we used to visit a very interesting cafe which worked on a wonderful system. It was called Karma Cafe.
All right.
So you and I come in and we eat, right? And we order food and drinks and we eat, but we're not given our bill. Our bill will be paid by the next person. We are given the previous person's bill. So you don't know if 7 people ate before you at that table, or 4 or 2 or whatever.
Yes.
You will pay their bill. It's a pay it forward.
All right.
So you are going to pay for the person who ate before you.
All right.
So that's karma.
That's karma.
So imagine you could complain, or you could take this as a spiritual lesson.
Yes. Yes.
That कर कोई रहा है भर में रहा हूँ, बॉस गुस्सा हुआ, डांट नौकर को पड़ी कि तुमने नमक कम डाला है. So life is like that. It's a ripple effect, and it's a lot of karmic lessons.
Yes.
So how do we take it forward? What am I radiating out today in the morning? Am I with a smile? Am I with a thank you? Or am I with a to hell with you? Why did you overtake me? I mean, a lot of people sitting at traffic lights get infuriated.
Always.
And I was like that 1 year ago.
Yes.
Road rage was one of my problems. But then gradually I realized the earth is spinning at 600-700 whatever miles per hour. The galaxy is spinning at millions of miles per hour. The universe is expanding at, but all this spinning, I am at this traffic light. I'm not going anywhere.
Yes, yes.
I'm here. The whole universe is spinning and expanding, but nobody is going anywhere. So अगर मैं 10 मिनट काम पे लेट भी पहुंचूंगा, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? वो मेरे आगे ऐसे कट करके कार उसने लगा दी. Why do I have to take it personally? So if I'm taking it personally, that means there is something else which is getting wounded. And you know what is getting wounded? It's the unhealed, hungry, creative self.
Yes.
जब आपका creative part satisfied है ना, आपको सब अच्छा लगे. You are very happy.
Right.
And you are blessing everyone. But if you are creatively dissatisfied, you will not.
And this
और
creativity
वो
can flow in any direction,
yeah.
be it for art, be
So
it music.
why does it mean the heart?
Yes.
Because you need to go back to your childhood. Remember that when you were a carefree child
Yes.
and you were playing,
Yes.
you would play so many make believe games.
Of course.
मैं princess हूँ,
Right.
मैं lawyer हूँ, मैं पुलिस वाला हूँ, तुम
True.
ऐसे हो. And we would love to play a particular role. We would fantasize, मैं ऐसे आर्ट बनाऊँ, मैं ऐसे बिल्डिंग क्रिएट करूँगी, मैं ये करूँ. Those were the sole purposes we were born with. पर over time क्या हुआ? क्या कर रहे हो टाइम वेस्ट? स्कूल का काम करो, मैथ पढ़ो, फिजिक्स पढ़ो, ये करो, वो करो. Suddenly the world, which was full of insecurities, कि तुम पढ़ोगे लिखोगे नहीं तो कमाओगे खाओगे कैसे?
We
Right?
still say
So that scarcity model,
yes.
which our parents were given to by their grandparents, was passed on. We inherited it.
Yes.
We came into real life, and those beautiful dreams, they got lost. और हमारा काम with advancing age, with time, with experience ये है कि भाई अब हम कमा भी रहे हैं, अब हम financially भी ठीक हैं. Time to revive what we love.
What we love.
That is what took me at 35 to the radio station. That is what took me to start writing. That is what keeps me excited today that I should get up tomorrow and create something.
True.
See, what does God do? God's first purpose in life is create.
Right.
He's creating more planets, more light, more universe energy, more solar systems. सब कुछ बनता जा रहा है. First instinct of the divine is to create. If you and I are essence of the divine, when we are born, we're only born to create.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean you could be creating jobs.
Yes.
You could be creating finance.
Anything.
You could be creating funds, money, t-shirts, logos,
anything that gives you happiness.
Podcasts.
Yes.
So we are here to create. And unless a young person is not able to channelize their energy to create, that young person is suffering. And I believe that my job, like you kept asking, when did this calling come? This calling has come very loud and clear to me. My job is to be only vocal about the fact, hello, can I help you create? Whatever you are here to create, once you create, your beautiful soul and your light is going to shine in this world. So please get up and create.
And I'll be just repeating what you just said, like it's the inner healing. So once you're healed from inside, there's an inner light that radiates through you as a person. So it ultimately comes out, and then also it gets reflected from the person that you are dealing with, interacting with.
Because the moon reflects the light of the sun. It has nothing. It's a piece of rock over there.
Yes.
It only shines when the sun offers it light.
Everything seems so logical now.
It is logical.
The picture has become so clear. Otherwise, हम लोग यही बोलते थे, अरे ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है, वो तुम्हें वॉक ओवर कर जाएगा, तुम पीछे रह जाओगे. ये हमारी इनसिक्योरिटी रहती है हमेशा. वो तुम्हारा फायदा उठा लेगा.
वो जाएगा कहाँ? Sorry to say, but वो cremation ground या graveyard तक जाएगा. और जब वो जाएगा, उसके पास कुछ नहीं होगा. I mean, I have seen people. Imagine we're just talking about this on the footsteps of that great plane tragedy that has happened. And I personally feel there were so many lives and so many dreams which were going to take off. And they're gone. Right? So that fragile life that we live, it's meant to be savored every moment.
Yes.
It's meant to be enjoyed and loved and expressed every moment. And when we don't do it, that is our restlessness, yearning and violence and discomfort, and that is the only thing wrong with every human being who is on this planet. वो अगर अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर पा रहा, तो वो बेचैन है.
और वो एक्सप्रेस क्यों नहीं कर पा रहा? अगेन बिकॉज ऑफ दिस कंडीशनिंग प्लस दिस फियर ऑफ getting a validation word आजकल बड़ा पॉपुलर हो रहा है कि वैलिडेशन, मेरे को इससे वैलिडेशन चाहिए, मुझे इससे हमें कितने लाइक्स आए, कितना सब्सक्राइब आए.
अल्टीमेटली वो सब आने के बाद भी लोग पिनेकल ऑफ सक्सेस पे पहुंच जाते हैं. Say for example, I usually take this great example of someone like Michael Jackson,
right,
who made millions and billions, who became the heartthrob, who he created a revolution in dance, and he became a god, lived in a castle, and one day he was discovered dead, right? And despite having plastic surgeries, trying to change his appearance, again, you are trying to seek external validation.
Yes.
and you are altering your physical form. Today, trillions of dollars of cosmetic industry survives on your insecurity.
Yes,
आज
yes.
आपको बताया जाता है through adverts, आपका नाक ठीक नहीं है, आपकी वेट लॉस की जरूरत है,
Right.
आपकी स्किन टोन चेंज होने की जरूरत है, आपके आईब्रोज बने. Today, everything tells you, I can sell you something when I convince you are imperfect and you need something more to validate.
Yes.
I mean, this is the whole concept of Instagram filters. You need
Yes.
10 filters,
Yes. To
but
post one
to post
picture.
one. Whereas the authentic you is getting so lost in the translation of these filters कि आपका original self, the beautiful original, that means you don't trust God
Yes.
who created you in a particular form to go out and confidently express yourself. And जो validation हम ढूंढ रहे हैं वो इतनी momentary है. Ultimately, the only validation we need is from inside.
From inside.
And if you add one more word to what you asked as the first question at the beginning, what is the thread? Can I add one little word to it? It's self-love.
Right.
If you think calmly, all our unrest, all our restlessness from the biggest, most powerful people in the world at the moment to anyone else, they are looking for validation because they don't love themselves enough. The day you love yourself enough, you will know, I don't need someone on the external to complete me. You know, where do relationships go wrong? I've been doing that counseling for so many years. I've found out people meet someone else.
Yes.
Oh, you know, I like this, he likes that. Once we come together, he's going to balance it out. He's going to give me this. He's going to calm me down. He's going to love rock music. He's going to love dance. He's going to go to movies with me. So either people are looking for a person with the same set of interests, then why can't you be happy with yourself if you're looking for the same person?
True.
Then when they find a contrasting person, मुझे तो hills पे जाना पसंद है, उसको sea पसंद है. We don't agree. So ultimately, you will come together with your energetic opposite, and the day you know I'm complete, he or she is complete, you will come together only to build each other.
Yes.
I mean, if your family supports you sitting here, spending time to record this podcast, that is actually love.
Yes.
And if you go and support them
True.
when they are facing a situation, to build them, कि कोई बात नहीं,
Right.
आज ऐसा हुआ, कल better होगा. And then that is actually love.
Yes.
And that is what it is. You are complete, you're not insecure, and then you find someone else who's complete and secure, your relationship will be like this. But if two insecure people come together, that insecurity gets multiplied and they are constantly fighting.
That's it.
वो मुझे लेके नहीं जाता, वो मेरे को ध्यान नहीं देती, वो मेरी बात नहीं. You become a complaint box.
This is a very good advice for young people out there.
For every relationship.
Yes.
If I am
This has become very
incomplete
common
and no
these
one will
days.
complete me, my parents can't, my wife can't, my husband can't, it is so difficult to remember that Rabindranath Tagore wrote that beautiful thing. I think this is this famous Bengali song, Ekla Chalo Re.
Yeah, right.
So we come alone, we walk alone, we go alone.
Yes.
And
self-reliance is something that
self-reliance
we're talking
se
about.
zyada, I'm a giver. I'm not here to ask. And when you become a giver, again that boomerang comes in, energy comes back to you doubled.
It's like, be it for feminism, be it for anything, people are going out and then we can do it. And then when they come back home, they have expectations.
Yeah.
Why? And that is what is,
so
putting
double
them
standards
into a paradox like of these things, double standards, as you said, right?
So you know what? One of the most beautiful examples of this is Mother Teresa was once approached by a group.
Right.
And they said, आपने एक्टिविज्म की बात की. So they asked Mother Teresa, क्या आप हम लोग जंग के खिलाफ, वॉर के खिलाफ ये कैंपेन करने जा रहे हैं? Will you join us? She said no. मैं किसी चीज के खिलाफ नहीं करती कैंपेन.
Be it for war as well.
Be it for war. Against war.
Yeah.
Against मैं किसी के नहीं करती. हाँ, तुम अगर फॉर पीस कैंपेन कर रहे हो, तो मैं तुम्हारे साथ.
It's just the way of framing the proposal.
It's just the way of looking. It says you are not against the flow. You are for something.
All right.
You are for connection, for peace. See, against war जाओगे तो आप उसको और पावर दोगे.
Okay.
जब आप फेमिनिज्म की तरफ जाओगे तो आप जो एंटी फेमिनिस्ट हैं आप उनको पावर
Power
दोगे.
दे रहे हैं. True.
Rather than if a woman is complete within herself, she doesn't need
Need a poster to
हाँ
carry
कि मेरे को टैग
feminine.
चाहिए या
हाँ.
मुझे कोई आदमी चाहिए जो मेरी ये चीज सपोर्ट करे.
हाँ.
You are complete.
You don't
Today
need a
I see so
scapegoat
many
अपना कुछ
women who
blames
are
डालने के लिए.
directors
Yes.
on boards, who are doing family
Leading
businesses,
our
who are
country
leading the
as well,
world
the press.
everywhere.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
yes.
they don't need a label.
Yes.
They are complete human beings. And you know, as souls, when we come, we carry a feminine element in men.
Yes.
And women carry a masculine element.
Yes.
And as my little understanding of spirituality is, in this lifetime, I, as a man, need to admire, appreciate, understand my feminine side.
Right.
You, as a woman, need to understand, admire your masculine side.
Ultimately,
that is why you are put in relationships.
Gender roles that are, assigned
So
by the society.
souls are gender neutral.
Yes, they are gender neutral. It's just the gender roles that are imposed and superimposed by the society around
So
us.
आप इस बार एक औरत के रूप में हैं तो अगली बार आप एक मर्द के रूप में आओगे. So you will carry the residual energies and you will express them also.
Right.
So I think when we start going beyond these stereotypes and these labels,
Right.
and we become pure human beings who are here to express everything in the language of love and gratitude, life becomes so easy.
It does. It does.
हम mental construct के साथ उसको इतनी complicated बना देते हैं. ऐसे होगा तो ऐसे होगा, वैसे होगा तो वैसे होगा. Say, what if you're the only person on the planet?
Yes.
You can't compete against anyone. You don't have to show anything to anyone.
You can't seek support.
You
also
can't
from
relate
anybody.
with
Yes.
anyone.
Yes.
You can't have a status. You can't have a position.
You're on
That's
your own.
when you should do. That's what I feel. One of the good steps of meditation is कि आप बैठ के बस ये पूछो, अच्छा अगर मैं ही हूँ सिर्फ marooned on an island और कोई भी नहीं है, who am I? What do I do?
So when you
what do
this,
I fight with?
When you do this reflection, like this is like that reflection that you do. Do you do journaling as well at the same time? You do?
I do. I think almost an hour and a half of journaling.
How does it? It does help, of course.
It helps. Sometimes I go back and reread something I wrote 10, 15 years back, and there'll be that little one sentence that even 10 years later, I'm looking at it because right now, in this moment in my life, I need that sentence. वो विजडम मुझे आज चाहिए. वो रिकॉर्ड शायद मैंने सी अगर आप spiritually देखो तो time is a myth, and there's a beautiful book by Eckhart Tolle called Power of Now. It's a very beautiful book. He wrote it in 1987 or something. I read that book and it has a strong influence in my thought process. That everything, और कृष्ण ने भी ये बात अर्जुन को कुरुक्षेत्र के मैदान में दिखाई थी कि सारा कुछ संसार में आपके पूर्व जन्म, ये जन्म, आने वाला सब कुछ एक मोमेंट में सब कुछ हो रहा है. अब आप इस विंडो से देख रहे हो तो आपको आज दिख रहा है. आपकी सोल किसी और विंडो से देख रही तो उसको आपका 300 साल बाद या 300 साल पहले का कुछ दिख रहा है. सो जब सब कुछ इस एक इन्फिनिट ब्यूटीफुल मोमेंट में हो रहा है, it is immaterial.
Right.
Time, aging, everything is immaterial. What is material is that at this moment, how much love, how much balance am I radiating? And don't get me wrong, जो आज आप कर रहे हो, जो आज आपके साथ हो रहा है, ये नहीं है कि आप हर वक्त उस स्टेट में रह सकते हो. फिर तो आप बुद्ध बन गए, like you shared that beautiful Buddha quote, and you've reached nirvana. You can if you see all Buddha's sculptures and photos, there's that smile.
Yes.
वो smile, Mona Lisa के face पे भी same smile है. That universal smile is a smile of bliss. वो आपके तो माथे पे शिकन रहती है, टेंशन रहती है, concern, because आप यहाँ नहीं हो. Maybe you're thinking of the lunch or the evening plan.
Maybe, yes.
Or who's waiting at home, whether the so-and-so has done homework or not, whether so-and-so has prepared meals or not.
Yes.
Your mind will keep going there. Right? Or you'll keep thinking of the past.
And not enjoying the moment that I am already in.
Right. Yes. So I think सबसे बड़ी practice है ही life में, जब हम जहाँ हैं, जहाँ बैठे हैं, जो कर रहे हैं, उस वक्त how much we are invested in the
And
moment.
how is this meditate? I mean, specifically the
So this is
artist.
like 24 hours become meditation, right?
It does, it does. And our podcast is named like When Artists Speak, and let's talk art. And you're an artist yourself, be it through the art of photography that you do, be it through the art of writing that you do, and of course guiding lives that you have been doing since ever. I would say I won't put a
So I
number
don't
to
know.
that.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yes,
Maybe मैं
yes, you have been.
ये बात मान के चलता हूँ कि कई बार आपके पास्ट
No,
अनअकम्प्लिश्ड
I think
टास्क्स हैं,
I
आप दोबारा होगे, आप फिर पूरा
बिल्कुल.
थोड़ा सा आपकी करोगे. It's like you'll complete one class,
Yes,
then you'll graduate, then
yes.
you'll come back to class 8, then 9, and then 10.
Mhm.
Life is a continuous journey.
It is. After listening to you, sir, obviously I can make sense of everything, that how one thing leads to other, as we did come to that conclusion as well in the middle
Because
of our
everything
segment.
is so connected.
Yes, everything is so, and organically things start falling into place, and one thing leads to other, and then you evolve as a better human being. And it can vary for everybody, like it is to each to their own, like their calling would come at different stages of life. It's not like you're sitting and repenting, अभी तक calling क्यों नहीं आई, अभी तक क्यों नहीं पता लगा, क्या करूं मैं
So
इसका
exactly,
कुछ.
I was
Yes.
listening to something like that. There was a piece of wisdom that came to me yesterday, which said, "Don't be impatient.
Yeah,
Wait."
yeah, because nobody can
And
put a
and
number to it.
just put a message out in the universe
Yes.
that this is what I like,
Yeah.
this is what I want,
Mhm.
this is the direction I want to move in, and the universe will handle the details.
Right.
हमारी as human beings problem ये होती है, हम हर डिटेल वर्कआउट करने की कोशिश करते हैं.
सब
नहीं ना,
कुछ.
मैं माइक्रो मैनेज करूंगा अपनी
हाँ,
लाइफ को.
फॉर्मूला में डाल देते
हाँ,
हैं
और
सब.
माइक्रो मैनेज करते हैं.
हम्म.
इतने बजे ये हो जाएगा, ऐसे हो जाएगा, फिर मैं ये बना लूँ, फिर मेरा people chart their entire 20-year plans.
Yes.
They buy tickets to a holiday 2 years down the line.
Yes.
सब planned है जी, हम बड़े organized हैं.
इतने पे retirement,
And then
इतने
life
पे.
will throw a different thing at you.
Yes.
And other part of staying with the flow and very river and liquid like is that you allow life to surprise you. आप suddenly उठोगे, you'll meet an old friend who will drop a beautiful hint or a message. जैसा मैंने आपको example दिया, someone randomly offhand told me radio कर लो.
हाँ जी.
For 20 years it changed me as a person in my
Yes.
life. Maybe I would have been someone different,
True.
right? Nobody would know me, I would not know myself. Most importantly, I would not know myself.
And
So
on
for
radio
every
only.
human being it's important.
Yes.
लोग जो कह रहे हैं ना, वो suddenly रोज ध्यान दो,
Yes.
कोई ना कोई
कहाँ
God
से क्या
sent
message आ रहा है?
आपको एक मैसेज दे जाएगा which will become
It's all
your
in the
calling.
details, observing the details that are going
And वो
around
आपको तब पता लगेगा जब आप अपने नॉइज से बाहर निकल के सुनोगे.
you. Okay.
हो सकता है you're sitting with someone
हाँ.
on a coffee and nodding your head. तू बोले जा, तू बोले जा. I'm not listening. My mind is somewhere else. So when we normally at workshops and normally at sessions, when we
Yes.
come together,
Yes.
I tell people
Mm.
one of the biggest gifts we can give another person is
The time.
time, attention,
Attention.
and to listen.
Yes.
And so many of us become performers. मैं 20 साल परफॉर्म करता रहा, अब मुझे रियलाइज हो रहा है, and I say shut up, listen, shut up, read. So some people ask me क्या हो गया, 6 महीने से पॉडकास्ट एपिसोड नहीं डाला. मैं कहा because since December I'm listening. When something will come, I will get up at 5 in the morning, I'll turn the mic on and I will talk. I don't
So
script,
for artists
I
as well,
talk.
like I won't say this for you personally. It's just that when you're creating content for the content creators out there comes a time that you run out of ideas.
You know why? Because you become a performer for the audience.
All right.
कई बार क्या होता है, आप शुरू करते हो कि मेरे दिल की आवाज़ है, लोगों तक पहुंचानी है.
ठीक है.
आप वो मैसेज लेके जाते हो.
Right.
फिर बीच में कहीं ऐसा होता है, तालियां बजनी शुरू हो जाती हैं.
ठीक है.
1 million followers.
हाँ.
Okay, look at the algorithm.
Yes.
Oh, people love this.
So I'll do this.
मुझे तो ये कंटेंट बनाना है. फिर आप suddenly
Now I understand.
from your authentic self आप कुछ और बन जाते हो. So I'll give you a radio example. From 8 years ago, I was sitting with a national head. He says, you are quoting Kabir and Bulle Shah and you are playing bands. You're playing Kailash Kher. Are you crazy? You got to play, the catchy Anu Malik and all that
Bollywood,
music,
yeah.
Bollywood here. My TG is 18 to 35. He kept on going. And I just said, this is one beautiful thing with all these radios. I really bless them for what they did to me. I had complete creative liberty. And this used to be my first condition with them कि आप मुझे बोलोगे नहीं कि तू क्या कर रहा है 3 घंटे. I own the studio. There's no ego there. But sir, I'm experimenting something. So surprising बात ये थी, वो counter to their market research, 17 to 25 were the people who would hook onto the show most, because they were so evolved.
Yes.
This is something I believe with our new young generation. They are very spiritually evolved. They have a deep interest in quality music.
Yes.
They understand ragas, they understand compositions, they understand lyrics जो meaningful है. उनको nonsense rap नहीं चाहिए, उनको depth चाहिए. And when I started playing that, and these kids, youngsters started joining in, I realized okay, कल ये लोग डॉक्टर बन रहे हैं, lawyers बन रहे हैं, they are shaping their societies, right? So I am being entrusted by the divine to help people who are going to influence their societies 10 years down the line. So मैं क्या उनको कचरा दूंगा कि मैं उनको अच्छा कंटेंट दूंगा. So मेरा कई बार डिबेट होता है कि नेटफ्लिक्स पे आप रॉ ट्रूथ के नाम पे you're showing such brutality, murders, rapes, negativity, and आप कहते हो नहीं नहीं this is raw. But our young children who are very influential, today a 16-year-old picks up a gun because he's watching that.
Yes. But that
आप
series
उनको
by the name of Adolescence also came and was, I
so
just
how
didn't
disturbing
want
was
my
that?
teen son to watch that. I just didn't want that.
You won't have the heart to watch it
No,
even.
no.
So imagine people whose children go through that.
That has affected me personally so badly that what if this happens to me?
Yes.
What if he's getting bullied somewhere?
Right.
And they have on that social media, they showed that the emojis that we casually use on our WhatsApp chats, they have a completely different meaning for those adolescent children.
So यही होता है ना, आप कहते कुछ हैं लेकिन आपके बच्चे कुछ और सुनते हैं.
True.
So it's very important to understand whatever we project as a society today, whatever we show on our television series, whatever we create, our coming generation is being shaped by that. जैसे आप suddenly aware हो गए कि नहीं मुझे उनको पिज्जा नहीं देना है, जंक फूड नहीं देना है. Suddenly there's a movement, all these fast food brands are serving very very unhealthy stuff and नहीं देना बच्चों को. फ्रूट खिलाओ, दूध पिलाओ. आप उनकी physical nourishment देख रहे हो, but their mental and emotional nourishment is equally important.
True.
So I think it's a time when a lot of parents are getting very aware. I see libraries getting more popular again. I see in New York, in Europe, in various other parts of the world, people sitting in open parks and reading quietly for 2 hours.
Back to the books.
Back to the books, back to calming them down. क्योंकि ये society में है, जैसे fashion होता है, the big shades are in, then they're out. The flared bottoms are in, then they're out. Every 10-20 years. So when we get tired of noise, we will start becoming quieter. And that's what's happening with the younger generation.
Now it is.
And if we keep forcing and force feeding them noise, they will become restless.
They will.
It's time to give them love, nature,
sometimes
calmness.
I personally myself feel like I need to just shout to my mind, just shut up. I mean, if there's so many things running, I don't want to listen to them and I can't sleep because there's the mind talks. It does.
Because you see, we don't turn off our screens 2 hours prior. We don't dim the lights. Our last half an hour is not spent trying to just. So I think one of the good things to do is to journal for the last half an hour. What it does is, it's like जितना दिन भर का कूड़ा है, उसको इकट्ठा कीजिए and rant it. और बहुत दिल कर रहा है,
there's no particular
make
format,
a little no format.
Is it in
Who's
points?
reading
Is it
it?
a paragraph?
Who is reading it? And if you really feel that I need to get rid of this, वो जैसे जब we met में था, या जैसे और either flush it down or you turn it to flames. What that does is it gives you closure, and you're actually telling your subconscious mind it's over. और आधा घंटा पहले, if you can dim the lights, if you can put the phone away, just turn on some nice music, you can lull yourself into sleep. And if you're not getting 7 to 8 hours of repair of your body, mind and soul, next morning you're tired. half the people are on 50% efficiency because they are tired.
Yeah, we're cranky throughout the day and all these things do
बिकॉज
happens
आप
happen.
लास्ट में एक डिस्टर्बिंग वेब सीरीज देख के सोए हो
बिल्कुल
जिसमें
बिल्कुल
4 लोगों ने अपने आप को पेड़ से लटका लिया.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
How can you find peace next day?
True.
So when you're inhaling toxicity
Hmm.
in terms of consumption of media,
Hmm.
it's not right. That's why I feel that when we get to writing,
Hmm.
initially it used to dishearten me. Why are people not picking up something that's bringing things together?
Okay.
Why are publishing houses looking for sensationalism?
Hmm.
Why is news and media on? हर एक को सिर्फ ब्रेकिंग न्यूज चाहिए.
Yes.
किसी का
You've
घर
written for
ब्रेक होना
you've written
चाहिए,
columns for
किसी का
newspapers as
रिश्ता
well.
ब्रेक होना
Yes.
चाहिए, किसी का करप्शन कार्टेल ब्रेक होना
बिल्कुल.
चाहिए, ब्रेकिंग होना चाहिए.
You've written for newspapers as well.
I've written
Yes.
for Times of India,
Yes.
but you know, I would be writing something about one of the articles that came up to me was I'm very proud of it in terms of I really enjoyed writing it. That it suddenly dawned on me to find Krishna's um, holy,
Okay.
how it was in Vrindavan, and how the whole spiritual concept behind Krishna's life is.
Yes.
And then it came to me that okay, here's one person
Mhm.
who was credited, discredited, or in controversy because they said had hundreds of wives.
Yes.
Right?
Hmm.
But has anybody explored that
Yeah.
he rescued so many women from? He was such a champion of women's rights that he
Yes.
rescued them. And then how many people understand
Hmm.
that he taught us कि जब आप physical form में life में हो तो celebrate करो उसको.
True.
His entire ras was about celebrating being alive
Yes.
with love and with sharing, right? Then the controversy, oh, he was the real cause for the Mahabharata. But wasn't he teaching you a lesson that
Yes.
you have to kill the bad part of yourself and bring out the best in yourself? And when, even if it involves your loved ones, you have to choose the right thing.
Yes.
So there were so many things I realized that when I was writing articles, it reached people, it touched them, they sent back feedback to me, and it was such a beautiful time. But then gradually you see newspapers are going out, nobody's reading anymore. It shifted.
Blogs are in now.
So I think it's very important
Mhm.
कि आपको एक म्यूजिक मिला है.
Right.
आप जिंदगी में कुछ भी कर रहे हो,
Mhm.
प्ले योर म्यूजिक. कोई सुन रहा है, कोई नहीं सुन रहा है. At least your heart is dancing to
And
that
that is
music.
what when artists
Your heart is
speak all
dancing to
about.
that music, right? So how can anybody be an artist? Because आप जितने आर्टिस्ट को करेंगे
Mhm.
और जो आप लोग कर भी रहे हैं, आपको कई बार लगता है it's against the tide.
Yes.
Who?
That push pulls you back,
Yeah.
and then
That you know, is it really making sense? The question will come.
other aspects come in. It's not helping you monetarily. At the end of it, I need to have
So quieten those questions, go on the
Yes.
journey. That's what people who are great, who have done, it's not that you want to be great, it's just that people who have done amazing things, they've walked their own
Yes.
path, sang their own song, danced to their own tune,
Had faith in their conviction, whatever.
and you know, why force it down anyone's throat?
Yes.
मैंने ये क्रिएट किया है, ये रखा है. आज इंटरनेट पे there are billions of megabytes and gigabytes of data.
Yes.
You can choose at the click of a button.
True. What you want.
So किसी ने अगर आपके पॉडकास्ट पे आपके मैसेज पे आना है, अपने आप आ
अपने आप
जाएगा.
आ जाएगा. True.
Like again, I go back to that philosophy that people like Diljit Dosanjh say.
True.
It happens on its own. So we have to keep doing what pleases us, what pleases our heart, and every artist should just quietly enjoy that and not get angry, not get frustrated, not get restless. And one of the key things that
Yes.
I'm learning over the years is be patient.
Yeah, so once again we'll repeat these things as a tip, or a couple of tips to our artists out there, because this podcast is all about when artists speak, and let's talk art.
Right.
So we're talking art here, and of course we are blessed today to be sitting in front of you, who has
I
a
think we're all
multi-dimensional
blessed. This
personality.
is always a coincidence.
Yes. And who has touched so many arts, so many lives along your journey throughout till now. So sir, it was like to be patient first of all,
Right.
and even you mentioned we need to be expressive. You need to be healed from inside. That is the
And be
first thing.
original.
That's the
Be
first.
original.
Be
Don't copy
original.
anyone. Don't
Yes.
fake anyone's accent. Don't fake anyone's
Yes.
style. आपको अगर रेडियो पे बोलना है, लिखना है,
हाँ.
कई लोग, मैंने बड़े साल किया.
Hmm.
I was so enamored by Gulzar.
Right.
I have written so many things which I felt are very Gulzarish.
All right.
I worked so hard initially to somehow मुझे एक बार मिलना है, मुझे कांटेक्ट करना है. बहुत साल कोशिश की.
Yeah, that much.
At one point in time, I got a great interview with Rekha Bhardwaj,
Okay.
and we talked for 2 hours
Right.
and became such good friends that she shared her number and details with me. मैं कहा, रेखा जी प्लीज एक काम कर दीजिए. You are so, because we talked about Gulzar at
Yes.
length, and Rekha Bhardwaj and Vishal Bhardwaj are so close to Gulzar Saab
Right.
that right from Chaddi Pehan ke Phool Khila Hai
Right.
days,
Hmm.
they have always created work
Right.
that Gulzar Saab has written. All their movies, all their films, from B.D. Jalale to
Love it, all
to latest scores that
ones
have
as
come
well.
in,
Yes.
सारे उन्होंने लिखे हैं.
Right.
So मैंने कहा, आप वो बार बार बोले जाएं हम बाबा से ये सीखते हैं, ये सीखते हैं. मैंने कहा, आप प्लीज़ एक मेरा काम कर दो. I'll send a copy of my book. आप वो बाबा तक पहुंचा दो. Whether he reads it or not, I want my book of short stories on his desk. Must have reached. This is many, many years ago.
Okay.
But again, मैंने ये सीखा,
Hmm.
जितना आप फोर्स करते हो, पुश करते हो.
Okay.
मैंने इतने गाने लिख के रेखा जी को भेजे,
अच्छा.
इतने गाने भेजे इन दैट एक्साइटमेंट कि उन्होंने मुझे जवाब देना ही छोड़ दिया, कि पीछे पड़ गए. एंड आई रियलाइज्ड, यू नो व्हाट, टिल योर वर्क मैच्योर्स टू अ पॉइंट,
Yes.
डोंट,
Yeah.
जैसे आप कच्चा आम तोड़ लो पेड़ से,
हाँ.
तो आप उसका सिर्फ रस निकाल के
True.
आम पन्ना या कुछ बना
बिल्कुल,
सकते हो.
मतलब हाँ,
आप उस
limited
आम को
utilization.
एंजॉय नहीं कर सकते.
True.
You can't cut that mango and enjoy the
So
deliciousness
you
and
must let
sweetness.
yourself evolve to a level that you're
So don't
handpicked.
force yourself.
You're
हाँ.
handpicked by
So universe
something.
will come and break you from the
Yeah.
branch कि हाँ ये
Yes.
आम पक गया, इसको अब. So I've learned as an artist, don't get too excited.
Yes.
Don't force yourself. Time आएगा.
Yes.
वो गाना बड़ा अच्छा है ना वो मूवी का.
अपना टाइम आएगा.
अपना टाइम आएगा.
Gully Boys.
Gully Boys. So everybody starting like that.
Yes.
in a shed, in a garage, whether it's an Apple or it's Microsoft or
Yes.
it's an artist, they all start in little. आजकल
Yes.
जमाना स्टार्टअप्स का है.
जमाना स्टार्टअप्स का है.
So it's just that वो आर्टिस्ट लेवल
As
से बढ़ के अब
parents थोड़ा
कंपनी
सा
भी
डर
हो गया.
लगता है कि बच्चे क्या स्टार्टअप कर रहे हैं, क्या होगा, but then it's worth
Yeah, today
giving them
16-year-olds
that
are
space.
surprising
Yes,
us
yes.
with breakthroughs which
Yes.
nobody can imagine.
You know, they're selling sneakers and all these things. What beer pong events and what all they're coming up.
So today's
And
business ideas we can't even comprehend,
we
right? So
can't
every
even
5 years the
comprehend.
generation is changing. I believe we are here to learn in this very amusing, fascinating world environment.
Yes.
So आप जो बात कह रहे हो ना,
हाँ जी.
the key word there, along with patience and being original, is
Hmm.
stay very curious.
Okay. Always.
Because what I realized in my illness 2 years ago was I had lost love for life. I had started to close doors. ये नहीं करना, इससे बात नहीं करनी, ये ऐसा, ये वैसा. You suddenly become so critical because आप खुद से प्यार नहीं करेंगे तो आप आउटसाइड में क्रिटिकल हो जाएंगे. जब आप क्रिटिकल हो जाएंगे, you will start closing doors. और आपको पता ही नहीं है what divine blessing is coming from one door, क्योंकि आपने तो खिड़की दरवाजे बंद कर लिए. So every artist must remain curious. Every artist must remain open. Because you think I am a flute player, but maybe a rap artist is looking for you to do a little rap के बीच में flute का interjection, which is going to make you world famous.
This reminds me of the latest Sapphire thing, you know, with Arijit.
Imagine those dolls that have become a rage.
Labubu
that girl
dolls.
overnight become a billionaire.
Yes, yes. Anything can click.
So I mean, if you look at that Labubu doll, would you ever buy one as a child?
No.
So what is it? So that is the universal energy. कौन सी चीज कब एक और आज की डेट में
किसको क्लिक कर जाए, क्या ट्रेंड बन जाए.
So as artists, hopeful.
Yes.
believing,
Yes.
trusting the process, staying creative, imaginative,
Yes.
very, very original and curious.
True.
Okay, I'm open. What life is going to teach me today? And usse मैं क्या बनाऊंगा? See, one of the key things, again go back to Gulzar Saab, very simple fact. How can he write a song that 15 to 80-year-old
Yes.
will hum that lyrics?
True.
How can he do it?
True.
He is 90. He can still get the pulse.
Yes.
Why? It's because that's a divine download.
True.
And that comes to you when you are open.
Right.
So even when you're emulating, when you're watching people, take the qualities that really. अब मैं सोचूं कि मैं गुलजार साहब की तरह लिख सकता हूँ. You know, he was a car mechanic. He was working under a car hood in a Bombay garage with zero education, and looked at the depth of his writing and awareness and knowledge. And I would say कि पढ़ना लिखना जरूरी नहीं है. जरूरी है कि आप जिंदगी को किस नजरिए से देख रहे हो. और जब आपका वो so when that nazariya changes, you talked about the photographs.
Yes.
So I am only taking you to like a bioscope. Yes. And telling you, look, I can see constellations here. Can you see them? Then you suddenly look at it and you say, हाँ ये तो सितारे दिख रहे हैं. Right? Yes. So I believe when I have a unique perspective, right, it is a gift that has to be asked for every day by observing. Yes. And every artist who wants to be an artist and unique cannot fake it. And cannot imitate anybody else. Yes, be yourself. And that's the best part with God. Because there's no scarcity, there's infinity. तो उसने इतना कुछ सबको दिया है. Can you imagine all your 10 and my 10 fingerprints are different, and so are for 8 billion people in the world. Yes. Our retina scans are different. इतनी variety है. अगर इतनी है तो आपके आइडियाज, मेरे आइडियाज, इनके आइडियाज सबके डिफरेंट हैं. बिल्कुल है. सो हर आर्टिस्ट को उम्मीद नहीं छोड़नी चाहिए. आई कैन बी सो यूनिक, आई कैन बी सो ब्यूटिफुल एंड गिफ्टेड दैट आई शुड जस्ट गो आउट एंड डू माई थिंग. What else do I tell you as a message? यार अपना मस्ती में बनाते जाओ. अगर आपको मजा आ रहा है तो दुनिया को भी आएगा. अगर आप कड़वाहट से भर के इरिटेट होके वो काम कर रहे हो, आप you know what most chefs say? Food is love. Right? Yeah. कि ये खाना स्वाद इसलिए है, माँ का इसलिए स्वाद होता है कि वो प्यार से बना. बिल्कुल. Mom is making it with unconditional love. Right. वो सर्वेंट के खाने के में नहीं आता. वो बेचारा प्रोफेशनल भी होगा तब भी नहीं आएगा. होटल में जाके मिशेलिन स्टार शेफ के खाने में भी नहीं आएगा. एक दिन दो दिन अल्टीमेटली यू हैव टू कम बैक टू माँ के हाथ का खाना. Yes, it is love. So when you put that love in your art, yes, everybody will smell and taste love. With. Yes. This is what we started. So life is a circle. You completed the full circle. Yes. So when you come back to love, yes, and you create with love, you write with love, you produce with love, people will give you love. Yes. Because you're giving out and the same energy is coming back. So mind complications make life very, very tedious. Yes, whereas it's a simple transaction of love. कितना दिया, कितना मिला, there's no account. No account. It's an infinite flow out, infinite flow in. Thank God it doesn't come in units. कितना surplus है. True. True. So. And if God has patience for murderers and for mass killers, for everyone, yes, everyone gets an opportunity to do their thing. Yes. Start with a clean slate, come back as a saint in the next lifetime, and do something all over again, which is more beautiful, which more than covers up for any mistakes. Yes. So when artists move, why sit and repent about कल मेरे से ये हो गया था, ये तो किसी को पसंद नहीं आया? Excuse me, just ask yourself, yes, did I make it with full love? Right. When you make it with love, people will accept it. It will be accepted. Yes. Right. Also, sir, I would love to ask that your book, which is titled Pilgrims of Sorrow, I feel that it explores the deep vulnerabilities of human life. And now, if I may ask you like a very personal question, that what does pilgrimage and sorrow means to you, sir? Okay. I'd start by talking a little about the book. that it happened 10 years ago to me,
All right.
and it paved the way for me to help other people learn writing and heal themselves through writing. Because what I personally experienced was that book, creating it, writing it, was catharsis for me.
All right.
So anytime an author sits to write something, the first inspiration for their expression comes from personal stories, personal experiences.
All right.
So there are bits and pieces of every author in what they write. So we very carefully, as authors, wrap parts of us into characters. We'll give them some habits, some idiosyncrasies, some quirky habits, some fears, some latent anger, some suffering, some pain. So, all through the book, it's to me a personal pilgrimage.
All right.
And I personally also feel this, that every sorrow that we go through in life, sorrow teaches us, it heals us. And a lot of people came up to me and said, aren't your stories very depressing and sad, and they're very macabre, they're full of death? Why does a person have to die in every story? I said, you know what? I am trying to make sense of death. I've had a couple of loved ones who passed on very early, and that left an impression for within me and on me to question death itself. And for me, that healing came through this pilgrimage by creating stories and characters. And what I intended to do was to give people hope that, look, this character has lost someone they love dearly, and yet they have held on to their faith in the divine, to their love, to their compassion. No matter this is a loss to, say, terrorism or a natural accident or something very tragic, but look how these people are able to overcome hatred and come to a position of acceptance and love. So that's how that pilgrimage is a journey, that despite in this life, in this world, you suffer, you will get there. And like I said, I believe and I follow a lot of poetry written by great Rumi.
Yes.
So one of his most beautiful things, which I keep quoting and I keep living and try to live, is light enters from the place of the wound. So until unless we have a wound in the heart,
Yes.
no light can enter.
And in the earlier segment, you did talk about healing, the internal healing.
Yeah,
that,
that only
that
happens
is
if you
much
have a wound,
required.
and that wound will be where light, wisdom, guidance will come.
And for you also, it was like a way of healing yourself internally.
Yes. So
the
I
writing
believe this
part,
book was,
yes.
yeah. So it was a very personal healing journey.
And the sorrows were actually the anecdotes, if I may say, yes.
Yeah. And I did try to put 7 colors. Normally we say green is peace and prosperity, or
Yes.
white is peace.
Yes.
So I used 7 different colors to give them very 7 different definitions.
All right.
And so the colors in my story signify very different things from what people generally know. And so it was quite experimental for me, but I think I enjoyed it.
Yes. That's what is most important.
Yes.
Yeah, it is the most important thing, as we have been saying it throughout. Expressing yourself, being original, having faith in the conviction that you have. Definitely, sir. So again, an inspirational message to our viewers from your side, that the way whatever you have experienced, you can always pen it down and then expressing it yourself originally. And there are so many ways that you can do it.
They can,
Yes.
I can also give you another beautiful example of someone who started writing, was handling a very deep personal grief of losing a loved one, and that journey for that person was extremely painful, crying literally on every session, and did like 7-8 writing sessions in a group. And then gradually one day she overcame that grief and turned into a prolific author, went blogging and writing, and became a celebrated, powerful voice. And again, I came back to the fact that sometimes your job is to help others unlock their heart, and go on their journey.
If you can also throw some light on the process of becoming an author, or writing things like, which you definitely take up in your workshops that happen at the space.
Right.
Yes,
right. That
yeah.
does. So we keep doing these writing workshops, and a lot of people have gone on to script articles, stories, and
just like
So the journey
and
is pretty
yes,
simple.
yes.
First you come
Hmm.
and you confront yourself.
Okay.
You get over your fears, your traumas, your blocks. And once you've done that, suddenly you can start seeing the world around you. Because, like we were discussing before,
Hmm.
this mental chatter just goes on,
Yes, it
right?
does.
So, till you quieten that mental chatter by scribbling
Mm-hmm.
at night, during the day,
Hmm.
or in workshops, you release
Hmm.
all that. Once that release has
So the
happened,
people do open up to you.
yes, they
They
do.
do.
They open up to their notebooks because I give them a space which is safe, which is very personal,
Hmm.
and they are under no liability
Yes,
to
yes.
share.
There are no
They can
judgments
choose to
around.
not open the notebook and even share it with anyone else. So that gives them the confidence that, okay,
Okay.
finally, I can have a very intimate conversation with myself
Right.
and no one is overhearing.
What about the vocabulary part? Like, isn't
So
aren't
that
there?
comes
Yes.
to every person naturally.
Okay.
Yes, some people are very gifted because they are well read.
Hmm.
So I encourage people to read a lot.
Yes.
So even when they come for radio
Hmm.
and they're struggling कि मुझे pronunciation का issue है,
Hmm.
तो मैं उनसे अक्सर बात किया करता था कि अगर मैं उर्दू, हिंदी और पंजाबी और अंग्रेज़ी सब भाषाएं इतनी स्पष्टता से, क्लैरिटी से बोल सकता हूँ कि ये ना पता लगे
Hmm.
कि मैं हिंदी भाषी नहीं हूँ या मैं अंग्रेज़ी भाषी नहीं हूँ और मेरी डिक्शन, मेरी प्रोनाउंसिएशन क्लियर हो, उसके लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है भगवान ने एक मुंह दिया है, दो कान.
Right.
सो रेशो इज दो कानों से डबल सुनिए और एक मुंह से आधा बोलिए. सो आप जब अच्छा सुनेंगे, so like I encourage a lot of young people to tune into good radios, to tune into good channels.
Right.
When they say, I want to improve, I said, are you listening? Today there are so many mediums, podcasts and
Yes.
people who are giving so much good quality.
Right.
So you may be, say, interested in pets, but if you turn into a podcast where the people who are talking about pets are using great language, your English, your pronunciation will start to improve.
Yes.
And the better the quality of speakers and listeners, the better the exchanges, and the better your knowledge coming to you is. So again, digressing slightly, there are five senses:
Okay.
listening,
Yeah.
hearing,
Yes.
and touch
Tasting
and
and
smell, and
yeah.
right. So you're using those five senses to communicate with the world. Now, in every human being, 2 to 3 senses are dominant.
Yeah.
Either you're a listener, or you are watching, or you are feeling. So if you pay attention to the words you use during the day, if you're using too much, I see,
Yeah.
oh, I know, you will suddenly come to know which of my two senses are dominant. Am I a listener? Am I a visual learner? Am I more through touch? Or am I more through senses, taste? You will suddenly know which two senses are dominant.
All right.
So I believe that when you know that these are my two outreaches into the world, you allow information from those two sources and you get maximum input from there. So अगर आप listener हैं तो आप podcast सुनिए. अगर आप visual समझते हैं तो आप read कीजिए, देखिए. And similarly, when you open that window and you let information in, you will suddenly become a richer person in terms of what you've gathered. और अगर आपके पास richness होगी, you won't sound like an empty tin.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
You will sound like a music box.
Yes.
That has more content and more variety.
Right.
And when you will speak, you will have something to offer. वो डेप्थ आपके पास वहाँ से आएगी जब आपने सुना और इम्बाइब ज़्यादा किया होगा. A lot of people are very keen to become performers, but before performing,
Yes.
have you know there's that beautiful 10,000 hour rule कि हर एक्टिविटी को परफेक्ट करने से पहले 10,000 घंटे उसमें इन्वेस्टमेंट होनी चाहिए. So you know when a Sachin Tendulkar hits a cricket drive, after all these hours, his muscles and his body remembers.
Yes.
It's a natural instinct.
Yes.
So same way, speaking, writing, everything becomes a natural instinct.
True.
So if we can go for hours and hours of conversation and I don't need to look at notes or a book, that means over all these years, I have tried to open my senses and let things come in.
And now,
And whatever good has come
yes,
in, I can offer that to you in a
anytime,
bouquet,
anywhere.
right?
True.
So
Yeah.
same is for every individual.
Yes.
आप अपने आप को deep
Mhm.
और knowledgeable और aware बनाएंगे
Right.
तो दुनिया आपको receive करेगी.
Mhm.
That's again for any writer, for anyone. If you're a good observer and you've observed things deeply and you've noted them down, you can smell things very intimately in a cafe, in a
Yes.
surrounding. You will suddenly know कि मेरा ये वाला sense मुझे guide कर रहा है.
True.
फिर आप उसको लें, आप उसको notes में लें.
Right.
I always advise people who are writing to carry post-its.
Alright.
I tell them to carry a little notepad.
Mhm.
जहाँ कहीं, because inspiration is like lightning. It'll strike
Anytime.
anytime.
Yes.
You might be not ready holding two cups of iced tea and suddenly inspiration aa gayi,
Yes.
kya karoge? You have to put it down and write it.
True.
So one of these beautiful books I would like to just give you a brief introduction was by um, Elizabeth Gilbert, who's written Eat, Pray, Love.
Right.
And that book became a phenomena. So she's written a very beautiful book called Big Magic, which is all about creativity in writing. And I always keep looking for books like that. So she's describing a poet who was raised during the times when there was slavery prevalent in America and slaves were made to work in cotton fields. So this young girl is a poet and she describes how she writes. So she is working in the field and she says, far in the distance, I can see a poem coming to me. I'm holding a basket where I'm collecting cotton. I would drop the basket and I would run to the barn, open the door, find a piece of pen and paper, and sometimes, she says very visually, I would grab the poem by the tail because it's about to go.
Yeah.
In the ether, in the imagination, in the field. Because वो जो thought, वो जो inspiration आई है, वो अगर आपने नहीं ली, it's in that etheric field, it'll go to A, B, C, D, anyone else. So when it comes to you, grab it by the tail. And she says, sometimes I would write the poem in the reverse order because वो पूंछ पहले हाथ में आई. I would write the poem, then I would edit it, sort the order, correct the poem, and then send it out. But she says, if I miss that window, it's gone. So a lot of creativity is like that. When you're in an open state, आपको बैठे बैठे पता नहीं लगेगा यार ये आइडिया मुझे आया कहाँ से. It's always the divine playing music through you. So if you're ready, you will receive something beautiful. You will pen it down. So be ready. Be always. It's like being ready with a pen and paper. People always complain. ये आप बैग लेके कैफे में इधर उधर घूमते रहते हो, नोटबुक में पेन साथ में होता है. I have a pen right now in my pocket because I don't know. While sitting here, something will strike me. So it's important to be armed and ready if you're an artist. So like a good music player would be out in the street listening to
various sounds that are coming from
sounds, yeah.
even the honking of the horn.
Honking of the horn, the birds, the utensils in a dhaba, everything makes music.
It does. It does.
So आप कौन से सेंस को सुनते हो, वो आपको सेंस क्या एनर्जी दे रहा है, आप कितना क्रिएटिवली उसको. Isn't it all immersion? आपके ऊपर वो सुरूर, वो नशा होना चाहिए. वर्ड्स भी बोलेंगे, पोइट्री भी सुनेगी, दिखेगी. आपको सडनली सी, इफ आई टेल यू, इट्स दैट साइकोलॉजिकल एक्सपेरिमेंट. इफ आई से प्लीज सी ग्रीन टुडे, you can come back and tell me 200 green things you've seen through the day, right? Because then
otherwise they go unnoticed.
Otherwise, you won't see green. So if you're familiar with that, it's the same with creativity.
We used to play this game while we were young, going for long drives with dad and mom. तो ऐसा होता था कि हमें busy रखने के लिए, हम उनको disturb ना करें, कब पहुंचेंगे, कब पहुंचेंगे.
तुमने red car देखनी है. Count the number of red cars. Count the number of white Mercedes.
Just took me back to yes.
So it's like that. If we are one of the key concepts that I've come to understand is all your energy will go where your attention will go. If your attention is going to complaining, cribbing, world is not right, it'll all be not right. If your attention is going, everything is beautiful, everything is falling into place, why do you do those affirmations? Because you're directing your mind, your attention in the right direction. Uske baad, your energy will go there. You'll start seeing ideas. That's why what happens in writing workshops with me is people say, the weeks I'm writing, I am very prolific. Then when I stop, I don't know, I don't get ideas. I said, are you paying attention? If, like eating your meal, you're sitting down and every day you're inviting ideas through attention, writing will happen. So any practice, any art is like a tapasya. और तपस्या में रोज ध्यान लगाना पड़ता है, और आप तब ध्यान लगाओगे जब आपको उसके साथ मोह है, स्नेह है, और आपकी पूरी की पूरी उसमें अटेंशन, और you are committed to it.
Determined to it. वो
Yeah.
determination है
And
हमारे
that
में.
determination is out of love.
Out of love again.
कि कोई मुझे कह नहीं रहा, but मेरे को इतना मजा आता है वो करने में, that my, you see, sometimes if you watch some people, music starts playing and they'll start going, and they want to get up, they want to dance, चले dance floor पे. So if you know,
now this action of yours you just did reminds me of the person behind this podcast, Bhavya Wadhwa.
right?
So Bhavya Wadhwa is always like this. He's always, tapping something, and
So
I think
imagine,
it's always
So imagine
the music that is playing on.
the percussionist on in him.
Even if
is
we are
always
talking
listening.
and also he would do that. And sometimes maybe his parents would stop him from saying, sit straight. I mean, we should not be done, not should we stop. But then I've noticed this in him. And I must tell my audience that whatever we are doing today, if you're sitting today, if I'm sitting here today with Sir, so it's all because of him, because this podcast is his brainchild. And definitely he'll be doing wonders. He's already working very hard for this, and we must acknowledge his efforts all the time. And not that I plan to refer him, it's just that when Sir did an action, it reminded me of him, and I had to.
No, even when you now have referred him, I would just add one thing.
Please, sir.
Which I believe it's a rare quality. And you know what we admire in others is what we are trying to develop in ourselves. Always.
Yes.
It's that one quality that we want.
Yes.
If I would have been as persistent as Bhavya, I would have written 3 more books. But that commitment sometimes, weak resolve, is your undoing. Or your restlessness is taking you, like you said, it's good to make a list of things. आप ये 5 चीजें करते हो, पर उसमें ना 2 कई बार मिस हो जाती है. So, but with him, I like this with Bhavya, that he decides, he's so persistent, he will never let go.
And again, the energy,
and that's a quality. That's a quality that you need.
It is. And the energy that he carries, he radiates that energy, and then it is.
So imagine you and I are talking for hours sitting here.
Yes.
And it's just because the intention set by the person has brought or pulled us in. And I always believe that a lot of people complain, I'm not getting successful on the, trying to do this, trying to do that. So if you set a strong intention, let me remind you of that famous dialogue from that Shah Rukh Khan movie.
तो सारी दुनिया,
सारी कायनात
आपके
साथ साजिश में जुट जाती है उस चीज को आपके लिए. Om Shanti Om.
Certainly, we are becoming Shah Rukh Khan's fans.
So when you're watching that movie, Om Shanti Om, you say, "Yeah, what is this superfluous thing?" But 10 years down the line, when I look back, excuse me, he's talking manifestation. जब आप शिद्दत से किसी चीज को चाहते हैं तो पूरी कायनात. So he was giving you the secret and manifestation before it was released as a book.
Now we'll be having Bhavya laughing because the last podcast that we shot for his channel, there we mentioned Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, because we were talking about intuition and where Jaya Bachchan holds the thali and now we are talking about Om Shanti Om. So again, things are falling into place.
Yeah. So maybe if things go this way, Shah Rukh Khan will be sitting here and getting interviewed soon.
Again, a manifestation. So we never know. So, yes, definitely. Also, sir, I would like you to talk about or tell us something more about the space. And also, if you could throw some light that how is it different? What was the inspiration behind it, first of all? And how is it different from other conventional creative centers?
So space, I think it came about as a labor of love, primarily initiated by my wife.
All right.
Because when we saw our young children took to books at very small ages of 3, 4, and their curiosity went on, it completely transformed their personalities. They became very inquisitive, curious, and sensitive human beings, we felt that isn't it our duty that all the young children who are now coming into the society, who are fond of asking questions, and
Yes.
3 to 400 questions a child asks, and about 10 or 20 are answered by the parent because they're so busy. So we encourage them to read, we encourage them to become inquisitive, curious,
Mhm.
we encourage them to perform,
All right.
build confidence, become better speakers, become very, very interested in their own growth and learning.
All right.
So we devised some programs, and we even did it with experts, especially my wife devised a lot of these programs, and we started working with a lot of young children.
Mhm.
We're happy that before the space came into being, it was being done at our place, at other informal settings.
All right.
But some of those kids have gone on and now they're doing their PhDs and they are
Wow.
doing so well. And when we look at those young persons
Yes.
and they come back and they meet and they talk about the space, their fond memories,
Yes.
you suddenly feel very gratified that somewhere
Hmm.
it has gone to shape their
And
personalities.
I can always say it like the foundation was laid strong
So
by.
yeah, so I think it's a legacy, and when you
Yes.
know that you've partnered with their parents,
Yes.
and now that you see the newer generation, which is even more addicted to
Mm-hmm.
screens,
Mm-hmm.
which needs more weaning off and more in touch, should be brought more in touch with books. Today, a young child follows a very structured routine. इतने बजे ये ट्यूशन पढ़नी है, इतने बजे ये करना है.
Yes,
Everything
बिल्कुल.
is so structured.
Everything is there.
They don't get time. I remember growing up as a child where
Hmm.
my parents would know that he's playing with the kids outside, he'll be back before dark,
All right.
right?
Yeah.
And there was no
No
structured time,
specific
no
time. Yeah.
no time for
Hmm.
tuitions starting at a very young age.
Yes.
So we were allowed to be creative, be
Yes.
imaginative,
And to
explore,
bloom.
bloom. So that's what space does. Gives them creative freedom,
Yes.
allows them this opportunity to ask questions, to express themselves, to write beyond the margins,
Right.
which sometimes the school doesn't allow them,
Mm-hmm.
to feel in a relaxed, non-challenging, non-threatening, non-competitive environment. Just be themselves.
And I can imagine they must be evolving as critical thinkers. Like,
Yes, they do.
yes.
Yes, they do. They ask questions,
Yes.
they
At
discover
early
latent
age, they
habits.
are becoming
Yeah,
critical thinkers. Sometimes we restrict that critical wala partner for the
later stage.
yeah, later
But
stage,
then
like
that
10th ke
that time,
baad
I think the age
highest.
is past.
It, the age
When
is
they're
past.
developing their instincts as young children, impressionable age, that's when you need to tell them that you don't have to hesitate to reach out on the shelf, pick up a book and look for your answer. Scroll on the internet, explore more.
Yes.
So suddenly when they do role plays, they do various other things, they become immediately interested in, oh, really? Is this what journalist is like? If they are exposed to so many things like documentaries and role plays, it changes their perspective. And I think the whole idea is to get them into music, to get them into performing, to get them to use their hands to build
Yes.
electronic circuits, to explore art, to do sculpting. And when you get them doing these things in unstructured time, they become more
Yes.
rounded and relaxed. So the whole idea of the
This
space
is
is this
three,
for the younger
yes. And
children.
360-degree development
Yes.
is what that takes
Yes.
place at the space.
And simultaneously for the adults, like I told you, we do writing workshops,
Yes.
we do a lot of experts sometimes come in and talk about various fields. There are parenting workshops, there are
Yes.
various things. Sometimes the odd book club would like to have a meet.
Yes.
So all this
Of
happens.
course.
And like you mentioned, Bhavya,
Yes.
so we've had such jamming music sessions every time.
Wow.
And it's free flowing. Nobody is just there to perform and impress.
So
People
many,
just come
yes.
with their instruments and their voices and they just jam.
They
just
jam.
become an impromptu
Yes.
chorus and harmony and an orchestra. So I think all these things promote a community.
It does.
And when we can build that sort of community, which is not judging,
Yes.
not competing, not trying to criticize, I think that's
Instead
what we
helping each
need. So
other.
we're trying to create that little bubble in the space.
And I think this perfectly aligns with the purpose of this podcast as well.
Yeah?
Yes, it's all about building up the artist community, giving them a space again to speak, and giving them that platforms, even be it the budding artists.
Such a great initiative.
It is all, as I keep on mentioning, all Bhavya's brainchild that this is, and obviously also giving us opportunities to be in interaction with patrons like you, sir. So it's always a pleasure. And since
It
you have
is
so many
mutual.
dimensions to your personality, and if I may just take this moment to touch the aspect of you being a leadership coach.
Okay.
So, sir, according to you, which is that most undervalued trait of a leader? If you can suggest one trait that is most undervalued when it comes to being a leader.
So I think when I conceptualized that introduction,
Hmm.
I was doing a few sessions. I did a couple of sessions for women as well.
All right.
And it was all about finding empowerment and leadership and the inner drive. But I think off late I've come to the fact that it's so universal. The most important quality of a leader
Hmm.
is to be able to lead from behind with compassion
All right.
and with absolute allowance and patience. And I'm trying to figure that out at my workplace and elsewhere also, because we've associated this alpha male and this go-getter female
Yes.
thing with leadership,
Yes.
that there
That's how we
has to be
picturize it.
aggression. And
Yes.
I feel the leader truly needs patience, calm, trust, and faith. And one of the key things, which again I come back to
Hmm?
my book as well,
Hmm.
a leader needs to be able to accept one's own vulnerability. Because if I can open my heart
Yes.
and as a leader admit
Hmm?
ये मुझसे गलती
Is
हुई,
that very close to SWOT analysis that people take up? It's like strength,
yeah,
weakness,
weakness,
and
yeah.
yeah,
So
opportunities, and
if I can actually
conduct a SWOT
put my
analysis
SWOT
on it.
analysis of the
Yes.
self
Yes.
and put my weaknesses out there
Hmm.
and share it openly,
Hmm.
कि look, ये गलती मुझसे हुई है, I admit to it,
Hmm.
and can I help you learn through my mistake, so that as a young person, when you walk the same path, I have already picked up the roadblock and
Yes.
removed it for you.
Yes.
So leadership to me is watching others flourish and being vulnerable. And being vulnerable is not easy. If you look at everyone around,
Yes.
everyone is trying to put a
Oh,
very, very
strong
strong
upfront that
upfront
yeah,
armor to protect their
and
weak
then
parts.
going back home and crying
Yeah.
behind closed doors,
Yes.
breaking
So
down.
when you open that up, when you become strong, honest, and vulnerable, you become a true leader.
Yes.
Because then you're so fearless. There's nothing to fear about. There's no lie to
Yes.
hide behind. There is no double standard.
Full
Then you
transparency,
are
full
completely
accountability.
that is a
Yes.
true leader,
Yes.
fearless.
Yes. And so, also, like we all know that you have worked extensively in India as well as Canada, right, sir? So, what cultural threads or maybe differences, contrast as we may put it,
Hmm.
so have you personally experienced across the borders? Like,
So I think it's pretty interesting. There are commonalities and there are
yes,
differences.
yes,
So the commonality is people's challenges and their pains and their heartbreaks and their sufferings and their joys remain the same.
mm,
So if I'm hosting or I was hosting a morning show here,
mm,
a show for a Canadian audience would be pretty similar, because I was catering to the needs of the Indian diaspora,
all right,
as well as I was doing things in English as well, which I would assume would be for a wider audience.
all right,
But one of the incidents stands out when I was doing a little, not even doing out in the open a show which was counseling,
mm,
but someone called me. He said, I'm driving to work,
mm,
and somehow this person was having some marital issues at home. And being an Indian,
mm,
he said that, I'm driving to work in the morning and there's been a big show at home
mm,
between my mom and my wife.
mm.
And he says, I've been consulting counselors here and they don't seem to have a clue. Because a counselor down in the West doesn't
Yes.
understand what a mother in law and daughter in law dynamics in the same house is doing.
In fact, the joint family setup is not
Yeah,
even
they
there.
don't
It does
even know
not exist.
understand
Yeah.
that concept.
Yes.
So he told me that it's so deeply entrenched culturally,
Mm.
and he said, "Paji, तुसी समझ सकते हो. People here cannot understand where I'm coming from, what my cross is that I'm
Right.
bearing."
Right.
So I immediately understood that hosting for here and hosting for there, one key thing common is problems are the same. And one of the big differences,
Mm.
the issue that I really saw over there is a lot of loneliness and homesickness. If people here felt crowded and not finding their time and space, over there, a lot of young people miss home. They're emotionally so bottled up. There are no friends, nobody to share things
No
with.
outlets at
And no
all.
wonder we've seen this rise in cases of mental illness and
Yes.
depression
True.
and
Anxieties
challenges,
and all these
anxiety.
areas.
So I intentionally molded my entire show to
Mm-hmm.
pep them up.
Right.
I started to completely talk about things that
Mhm.
would pep up the mood of a person who's lonely,
The
who's
positive
probably,
aspect of living
yeah,
abroad, I
fixing a
guess.
lunch and
Yes.
going to work in a 9 to 5,
Mhm.
nobody to talk to, empty walls to stare at, families away. So those little cultural. So I think as an artist,
Hmm?
if you're catering to an audience, you have to be sensitive to what other people feel.
Yes.
And if you're delivering what they feel, they will connect with you.
So
And
can.
this is a big difference. I think we talked off camera about this,
Hmm.
that radio is considered as mass media.
Yes.
But please understand, you as a voice and the listener who's listening alone in a car,
Hmm. Hmm.
imagine this as a one on one.
One on one.
It's a very personal, intimate conversation. So I built these beautiful relationships with people. Like I told you, a 10th grader once called me and said, "Sir, it's middle of the night. I'm going to sleep. I have a board exam tomorrow. Just say it'll go okay."
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
like that person giving you
The
the power to be
authority.
like a God's voice for that child.
True.
And once that happens,
Hmm.
you suddenly become responsible that I have been given a gift, I must use it carefully.
Yes.
And I must give as much peace and as much comfort to people. So, those are the cultural differences I have felt between India and Canada, as you
And
asked.
here, if I take this opportunity to quote Pablo Picasso, who has said that the meaning of life is to find the gift. However, the purpose of life is to give it away.
Wow,
So you
so
have been
beautiful.
giving it away throughout your life till date, and it's all about giving. And I wish we could also, after hearing this episode, most of our, listeners, viewers out there, including me, I am definitely, I have stepped one step ऊपर मैं
I'm so
पहुंच गई,
glad.
I can visualize that कि मैं एक सीढ़ी तो चढ़ गई हूँ ऊपर. I have evolved as a better person when when we are
So, we
towards at a
all do,
closure. Yes.
we meet people
And
along the
it's
way
like,
who hold our hands and take
yes,
us up.
yes.
So, one of my favorite quotes and
Mm.
dictates that I live by is by this very interesting awakened teacher by the name of Ramdas,
All right.
who was an American who came here to spend a lot of time with Neem Karoli Baba,
Yes.
and he was his disciple. And he was an expelled professor at Harvard who was expelled for irresponsibly consuming psychedelics. And then he turned completely on a spiritual path and came here looking for answers. That I don't need a psychedelic experience of mushrooms to or drugs
Mm.
to connect with the divine. He started taking the spiritual journey. So one of his most beautiful quotes and teachings is, which I try to get up and live by every day. It's pretty simple. He says, "We are all walking each other home." So when we've come into this life in the physical form,
Mm.
with a karmic baggage, with relationships, with everything,
Mm.
friends, family, traumas, bad, good relationships, we are just learning and teaching one another to walk each other home. And that one home, one destination is to go back to that one light source from where we all come. So if you complete the circle, it's
Mm.
as simple as that. Someone will use art,
Mm.
someone else will use politics or dance or music,
Yes.
but every artist must remember, you are here to walk. Anyone who touches your art or your art reaches out to them, your job is to walk that person home. And you can only walk them home when you are going home.
True, true. And it's
So it's simple.
ultimately the home that gives you comfort, anyways.
Don't you
So,
think we're all, everybody's eyes are restless,
we
everybody's
always say,
running?
I'm feeling home. I'm
Yeah.
feeling at home here.
So you
That
come
means I'm
home when
feeling
you
comfort.
come here,
Yes.
in the heart, and that heart has to be, like you said,
Yes.
full of love,
Yes.
and you will only give when you're full of love.
So you have been serving the purpose of your life, sir.
We all are.
And yes, yes, it's just that you could
in our different
identify it.
ways.
And yeah, it does take time to identify the purpose of life, and again the inner calling and all these things, all the deep conversation that we had throughout. And if I may just conclude this segment by just asking one last question, sir,
Okay.
that what legacy would you like to leave? What are you planning? The legacy that you would like to leave behind, not as an artist, not as a life coach or leadership coach, but as a human being. Your legacy, sir.
It's such a deep question again. It's something that I get up in my meditation. I ask this question. I journal for hours about this question. And so I think our purpose and our legacy are tied together. Because if we get up and pursue a purpose and then we think about our legacy, it's tied together.
All right.
I think I would only do one thing, which was revealed to me in a meditation just before my health crisis happened. I was told to replace every suffering, every negative thought, every discrimination, everything that was full of hate or anxiety or fear, replace everything with love, right? So I think the only legacy I would like to leave is, can I leave this world a better place, more loving and more connected than I found it? Now, looking at the circumstances, looking at everything, one could say, no, it's pretty negative at the moment. It's dark clouds everywhere. But until unless we have the dark,
Yes.
the light will not shine.
The light will not shine.
Right?
Yes.
So the contrast has to be
It's
there.
always about the
So
silver lining.
yeah, so if the divine is creating that,
Yes.
there will be light.
There will be light.
And even if within a 1 meter circle,
Yes.
you can leave the world a better place.
Yes.
That's life well lived.
Yes. And you have been doing that since ever, touching lives, helping people to identify their inner light, their inner calling. And I'm so blessed. I feel so blessed to have come in
Same here. I
association
think we
with
are all
you,
blessed
sir,
to
today.
be in touch. And I think when the divine creates such serendipity and such circumstances, when people come together and talk about this, how often would a message that we discussed and we talked about for hours go out in the world? And sometimes these voices are feeble.
Yes, it does.
But off late, I see there's a revolution, there's a
Yes,
change.
definitely.
So this is such a great work that Bhavya is doing.
Yes, he is.
This is such a great work, Reha, that you guys are
Thank you
doing.
so much. Thank you so
My
much.
heartfelt gratitude
Thank
to
you so
all
much.
of you,
All
your
because of you,
team,
sir.
who's putting this podcast together, because probably I would have done this over 100 podcast episodes personally.
Yes.
To be able to draw this out
Yes.
from me, or through, I won't say from me, to channel this through me,
Yes.
is your gift. And that is how we are all connected.
I'm just considering it to be destined. Like, I was destined to learn today. I maybe last night I must have wished for something, and today morning it came
It's
true.
always like
I
that.
am just viewing this as a blessing for me, sir. I have learned. We have definitely here at When Artists Speak by Let's Talk Art Jalandhar have unlocked our next level.
Oh no,
So
I know.
we
Thank you
have
so
already
much for
unlocked
saying
the
that.
next level.
That's so beautiful.
Yes.
And I really hope that people who are listening,
Yes.
next time when I bump into them at a cafe,
Yes.
they know exactly what's
Yes,
happening.
definitely, definitely.
Instead of being curious
No.
and cooking up conspiracy theories, I want to tell them that, just making a little love potion for
Yes.
the world to consume.
Definitely.
That's all we do.
Beyond borders.
And that is all our task in this world.
Yes.
Just feed love to everyone.
So much to
Thank
learn
you.
from you, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
sir.
much.
Thank
It's a pleasure. Thanks.